across the plains. Hope rekindles in the crimson tide as freedom's anthem calls our names. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Fields of dreams are ripe once more. Factories hum with honest pride. Our banner waves on every shore, with courage marching by our side. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day. Through trials dark, we found our steel. The eagle's cry breaks through the night. In unity, our wounds now heal. We chase the dawn with fearless light. Great again, we rise as one, under stars that guide our way. A song of promise has begun, and strength returns in light of day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Yeah, I could hear you. I could hear your feedback over there. What's going on, everybody? Where is everybody? We got a few people in. We'll wait around.
Sorry for the feedback. I just turned the volume down.
Sorry. How'd your week go, Dr. Jade?
Yeah, we had a good time. I was away. Hey, did everybody miss me?
Yeah, immeasurably. So the question is, did you miss all of us?
Of course.
We got a hell of a show. A lot going on, as per usual now. When Trump's in office, you got new shit every single week. So let's say, hey, Eyes of Green, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's wait for a few more people before we go.
How was your week?
Whoa, brutal. Brutal. Working like 12-hour days sometimes. Worked today from 7 until 35 minutes ago.
Yeah, me too. Oh,
yeah.
Wait a minute. No.
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, you worked a lot until 2 years ago. Yeah, shut up. But so tomorrow I got to go in at 7 till possibly, I hope not, 11 at night. It's a lot. We're doing a crossover.
Your boss must really like you to let you work that much.
Yeah, shut up. So well, I'm salary, but although they are compensating us for the extra time we're doing. So that's nice.
It was a joke.
I know. But so they're compensating us.
Yeah.
So all right, you know what? I'll go over the headlines, wait for people to come in. So today, up the center aisle, I just found out Samuel Alito just made a huge announcement about his potential retirement. That's huge. Plus, it means I think he coordinated this with the Trump admin, because it means he's like 74, 75. So it means Trump gets to put a fourth person on the court, and it won't be an Amy Coney Barrett. So he gets to put another one on.
Let's make sure he chooses somebody good.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, he will. No worries about that. Gen Z, the silent generation, swaps smartphones for dumb ones. That's going to be good, actually. This is how to stop the socialist juggernaut. Can't wait to read that. Progressive documentaries dominate a major film festival. We'll get into that. For the Muslim Brotherhood, which Barack Obama brought to the White House multiple times. Did you know that? He brought them in, right? And they erased them from the Secret Service logs when you come in. But there's people that work there that said, yeah, they were there. You know, they had to remove him because they didn't want him getting in trouble when he was running for his reelection. Anyway, for the Muslim Brotherhood in the U.S., everything is going according to plan, which is kind of frightening. Here you go. It says, read the document. Secret Oxford, probe cast Trump as potential Russian asset after he fired Comey. They did this just to screw with him, and then they hid it because they were like, it's a little too much, right? Everything else, I mean, Crossfire Hurricane was total BS, right? When will the climate liars stop lying? That's a good one. Here we go. McKinney approves a mosque site plan after 150, this is McKinney, Texas. After 150 speakers, police intervene during heated meeting. What they want to do is build, well, they already have one. And now they want to build another one. This is what they do. They said it out loud. You know, we're going to use your laws against you. You know, because they claim that Islam's a religion. I don't think it is. I think it's a totalitarian system to keep their people in line that just spread over the years. If anything, you know, they need a reformation like Christianity had. You know, Old Testament, we had, you know, smite thee, all that BS, but now, no. Turn the other cheek.
It's a death cult, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I mean, if you take a look, go way back to the ancient Egyptians, they worship death. You know, I don't know what that was all about.
Well, they say, I mean, Al Qaeda and ISIS used to say, we worship death more than you worship life. You know, they were saying that. All right. So exclusive. Trump administration will require prospective immigrants to post a 6-figure bond to prove they won't be a burden. Dominican Republic gets hit first. Nobody in the Dominican Republic is going to have that kind of money. So in other words, you got to put up a bond because we're tired of people coming here and we owe them a living. We don't owe them a living. All right. Testimonies from people who have lived under socialism. That's going to be good. So with this idiot, is communist, the word, no longer a slur? It should be. All right. Time for the few remaining sensible Democrats to put up or shut up because this guy, Al Said. Oh my God. So is this New Jersey Dem candidate too cowardly to take a stand on the simplest issue out there? Then we have John Fetterman calls himself Senator Shrek. That's great. After progressive Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Said threatens to put one ogre on a pike. These guys, these Islamic people, they're not screwing around. They're telling you what and they're not playing word games. You know, they're telling you what they want to do.
Believe them what they say.
Yeah, I know. Like hear them out and remind, you know, say, yeah, I believe you. You know, Mamdani is apparently thin-skinned and hypersensitive in private, despite unflappable social media image. Political sources say. Here we go. This is a good one. Is the FBI hiding a 400-page Rosetta Stone that could seal John Brennan's fate? Now, that doesn't mean Kash Patel. All the lib nuts out there. Oh, Kash Patel is sticking up for. No, they're still like they brought Dan Bongino in for almost a year, and he was to clear out all the agents that were politicized, and there was a lot of them. And so he got rid of them. They fired them all and replaced them with people that they felt, you know, cared that the mission of the FBI is more important, you know, than throwing people in prison because your president doesn't like them. Right now, again, the lib nuts will say, oh, that's what Trump's doing, even though he's not. He never did. But Obama did. Biden did. You know, it's just crazy. So I think they found the 400-page, the journal, if you will, and he's in big doo-doo. Chuck Schumer backs El Said. Can you believe this? The guy that wants all Jews dead, Chuck Schumer, right? He defended a terror attack on a Jewish preschool, and Chuck Schumer now defends him for wanting to get elected on their party.
Does the word insane come to mind?
Oh, yeah, it's insanity, man. No prosecution for hacker behind the 2020 breach of 633,000 Arizona voters. That's It's like, nothing happened. It was the cleanest election we ever had, right? Right there, 633,000 Arizona voters got screwed. This is my old boss, David Harris Jr. This isn't the Middle East, guys. This thing looks like a caravan from Mexico, right? This is happening right now in our own country. Democrats are pandering to Muslim invaders. Look, if we called people from South America and Haiti and all those other places invaders, these guys are invaders. They're trying to come into the country. Trump's not going to let them in, so I don't know what they're doing. But a Cambridge professor, this is funny, Cambridge professor accused of plagiarism is now under suspicion for using AI to write his resignation letter. He can't make this stuff up.
What? You can't write a letter?
Yeah, you can't. Probably not. Hey, there's my sister. What's up, sis? Good to see you. Jimmy, my brother from the same mother. Here's my brother from a different mother. Chris, what's up, brother? Good to see you, man. Commander, good to see you, bro. Thanks, you guys, for being here. Hopefully, more people are coming. I don't know if there's another stream going on right now. Hopefully,
we only have like 7.
Yeah, hopefully our normal guys will get here. Well, I know Dave does. Dave's Waffle House. I watched a couple of his streams. He does good streams. Very entertaining. It's like all off the wall stuff, but it's very entertaining. Hang on a sec. Yeah, so let's see. Hi, Chris, Jimmy, carry on. There you go. So let's go down the list still. So White House documents reveal 633,000 Arizona voter files were illegally extracted before the 2020 election. So let's see. So they brought in fake ones, and we know this because in Texas, what was her name? Susie Holes. She was a precinct manager in Fulton County, for like 22 years. And she said that in 2020 that she found she had reams of mail-in ballots that came in that had no folds in them. How do you get a ballot, an 8.5 by 11 ballot, into an envelope without folding the paper? Because it was bullshit. They Xeroxed them and they handed them over, thinking, you're all Democrats in this county, let's do it. All right, and apparently Brad Raffensperger's people from the State Department in Georgia, they had her in a room for hours trying to get her to change her story. She's like, I'm not going to lie. No, this is what I saw. So they say, it doesn't happen, right? Well, no, 633 in Arizona. They just pulled them out. In Arizona, you got to remember, Maricopa County, which is where everybody lives, let's face it, right? Well, in Maricopa County, it's the only county in the entire United States where the ballots, when they get collected, they do not go to the vote counting building first. They hired a private firm that does, they do sorting of those ballots, and there's no Republican watchers allowed in the room. Can you believe it? Because it's a private company. They're not allowed in the room.
Nothing to see here.
What do you think they're doing there, right? They got to end that law.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move along, folks.
Yeah. 3 GOP attorneys general subpoena Anthony Fauci. About time. And the whole point of that is, yeah, okay, he had an auto pen pardon and he pled the 5th, which the Senate is now going after him for doing that. He had no right to do that. So in other words, they're going after him for contempt of Congress because they told him, the Senate told him, all right, Rand Paul said, you do not have a right to take the 5th because you're not in jeopardy. You have a pardon. And he took the 5th anyway. A lot of people believe he took the 5th because of this very article, because the pardon, the auto pen pardon, which I don't think is legal, but that was for the feds, the states. Like I think Florida is the first one to start an investigation on him because this asshole harmed a lot of Americans with his lies.
And if he wouldn't have taken the 5th, anything he said could be used in state court.
Exactly. That's the point. But in federal, now what I would have done is said, okay, then we will have it in private. No cameras. Now you got to talk or we throw your ass in jail. So that's what they're doing. So let's see. Trump told donors we need to elect JT.
Actually, I'm just as glad they had it public because I think it's more important that the truth get out there. Yeah,
well, there's no truth because the truth's coming now, but the libnuts are saying, it's not true. Fauci didn't say that. Well, he said everything they said he said because they have it in the documents.
And it's in the diary.
Yeah, and he's responsible for 12 million people across.
Yeah, so what is this? John Brennan and now and Fauci, they all keep like incriminating diaries on government.
Oh yeah. And then they think, that's a private diary. No, it isn't, jackass. Espionage Act says if it's on the government server, it's the government. So, let's see. Vance. Federal government has identified $230 billion in fraud since March. So what's going to happen with it? Right? Socialist influencers foul-mouthed meltdown over tight Michigan Senate primary. Islamophobic pieces of S. This jackass. Yeah. That's who you want to elect, right? But you got now. You know what's going on? The lib nuts, for some reason, like you have Queers for Palestine. They're the first people the Palestinians would throw off of a building in their countries. They throw them off buildings. And yet these guys think, well, they're not going to harm us. We have Queers for Palestine. Look, we have the shirts. We got hats, flags.
Yeah. It's like chickens for KFC.
Yeah, exactly. So creeps, freaks, and cousin kissers. The Democrats' midterm ticket. We're going to go over that, right? New York Times, moderate Dems gear up for war with Democratic Socialists. So the moderates, moderates, right? They're going to go to war with the rock-hard communists. They're not socialists.
Moderate Dems are left.
Tell you what, the DSA was a socialist organization when they started, but now they're pure communists. Come on, just listen to their rhetoric. Dr. Anthony Fauci held in contempt by the Senate panel after taking the fifth 111 times in COVID hearing could face prosecution. I don't know if it'll happen. With cash there, it might. Trump hails El Said's win as great news for the GOP. I love that. The Democrat establishment is freaking out right now. Of course they are. They're being taken over. Like the Muslims said, okay, we're going to call ourselves left-wingers, and so we're going to get into your infrastructure. We're going to get into your system. We're going to let you spend your money on our primaries. Trump touts 40,000 new jobs in Nevada, 100,000 lifted off food stamps. Now the lib nuts go, oh, that's just crazy. You took children off food stamps. No, dumbasses. It means that the Trump administration made it so that they don't need food stamps anymore. Fauci's worst nightmare may have just landed in the hands of Senate Republicans. We're going to back that up with the other one. Trump Department of Justice nails OpenAI for hiding jobs from Americans to hire foreigners. I'm so sick of that shit. El Said drops the mask. He lets us know who he really is. Senate Republicans move to keep men out of women's sports. Well, it's about time, right? Here you go. Amy Klobuchar from where's she from? Michigan or Wisconsin? I think
Michigan. I think
Minnesota. Sorry. Yeah, Minnesota.
I knew it was it.
Yeah, one of the M's up there.
One of the
right?
M's.
So Amy Klobuchar told an audience that she's tough on border security. You got to watch what happens right after that. James Carville. While Carville and other Dem dinosaurs panic about the party, the new Democratic Party doesn't care, right? And Carville just said on TV the other day to the host, I forget what show because I don't watch that crap, but I saw the clip, and he said, look, if Hassan Piker becomes the spokesperson for the Democratic Party, he said, I'm out. He goes, James Carville and Hassan Piker cannot be in the same party. He goes, and I'm out. And I think he means it. He's not going to join us. But all right. So Florida subpoenas Anthony Fauci, focusing on self-dealing during the pandemic. He did that. He made tons of money during the pandemic on the policies that he put out. Exclusive. 17 state officials asked Trump to slash Biden-era climate rules. That's good. Hakeem Jeffries is the big loser as this impeachment-obsessed candidate goes down in flames. We'll get into the rest of them. Let's see. Who do we have here? I'm not normal. I don't know what you're talking about. Who else is here? Hello, everyone. For those watching that aren't saying hi, welcome. All right, we're going to start. And we got, I don't have a lot on the upper left, but I got enough. Oh, wow. Okay, so we got enough here, and we got all the videos. So let's go. Justice Alito.
Yeah, I want to hear about.
Yeah, I'm going to bring him up.
He's my hero, right?
Yeah. Well, Scalia was mine actually, and now Alito and Thomas. I love
Alito and Thomas. Yeah,
they're
the best. They're the best.
Hold on. So why can't I pull this up? Wait a minute. Where am I at? Okay. So what does that mean? Present. Stop screen. Okay. Let's bring this out. It didn't say share the other screen. That's weird. I'm on Edge this time instead of Brave. They got a lot to be desired, I guess. All right. So Justice Samuel Alito channeled his inner Jordan Belfort to declare he's sticking around, causing much heartache throughout liberal America. I love how they good. And that is not a clickbait. Samuel Alito made a huge announcement about his potential retirement. No. Good man. You can hear the collective groans.
Oh, the announcement is no. Okay.
Yeah, the announcement's no. I'm sticking around. He needs to. All right. I was thinking if they wanted him to go because they wanted to put another real conservative in there. Okay, another real originalist. So there was increased speculation about the future plans for one of the conservative wing's most vocal voices, especially since National Public Radio posted a piece about his retirement on the final day of the Supreme Court opinions in June. They did that. Can you believe that? He never said a word to anyone, but they say he's going to retire because they thought it would force him to retire like they did to what's her name? Oh, I can't remember her name now. Damn. The one that just died. Ginsburg. Yeah. They said, she was going to retire, right? And they pushed her out. He's told the Wall Street Journal he's here to stay.
Yeah, but Ginsburg
no, that's not it.
Didn't retire to the regret of the libs.
Right. Yep, NPR took down the story and posted a retraction, but the story behind NPR's epic foul-up was as unreal and sloppy as its supposed unbiased journalism. I don't know why NPR gets to exist. We're paying money so that they lie to us. That's just wrong. Nina Totenberg was again the face of this calamity, saying she misheard an announcement, but then that story turned out to be untrue. That story.
Is that lies wrapped in lies?
Yeah. For goodness sake, call the Public Information Office, guys. Yeah, because they got all the answers. All right. So let's get out of here. Crazy stuff, right? All right. Let's see. What do we got next? The Gen Z folks. Let's do this one. Okay, get rid of that. All right. The Gen Z, the new silent generation, swapped smartphones for dumb ones. Gen Z was supposed to be the first fully digital generation. They grew up with smartphones in their hot little hands, social media accounts before they were old enough to swim, and an entire childhood recorded, uploaded, ranked, liked, shared, and permanently part of every algorithm on the planet. They were supposed to love every second of it, but that didn't happen. A growing number of them are now trying to escape the tech lifestyle they were born into. God bless them. Young Americans are deleting apps, cutting back on screen time, getting rid of social media, and trading expensive smartphones for dumb ones that make calls, send texts, give directions, and play music. Basically, they're paying to turn their iPhone into a 2004 Motorola Razr. All right. Can you blame them? No. Silicon Valley promised us that constant connectivity would make us all smarter, happier, more informed, and more connected.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, I know. Bullshit. But it turns out that was another lie. Duh. Because what it actually did was create a group of humans that can reach anyone on Earth in seconds, and now everyone is anxious about answering their phone. They say that checking your Facebook posts or whatever is more addictive than crack, that you have to do it, right? Family and friendships have turned into content and clicks. When you make a bad post, it becomes this permanent scar in your public record, and every quiet moment you manage to squeeze in gets swallowed by nonstop notifications, doom scrolling, online fights, beauty filters. I'll never understand that. Performance anxiety, and the constant pressure to prove that your life is way more exciting than it actually is. Even boredom has become a thing of the past. There's no sitting quietly in a waiting room anymore or staring out the window during a long drive. I'm surprised instead of having magazines on the doctor's waiting room table, they don't have like little tablets that you can look up. Every empty second is now filled with content, and Gen Z has spent its entire life inside that tech machine, and now many of them have had enough. They're fine with having a phone. They just don't want to be ruled by the addiction anymore. Do we really want to read CBS? No. That's probably about 35 hours a week on social media. That's basically a full-time job with no paycheck. The dumb phone movement is about control. Gen Z thinks the phone should serve the person holding it, not the other way around. Exactly. Because think about it. The social media companies, they got us all in free games, free this, free music, like all the freebies, right? And here they were addicting us to it the whole time because all they cared about was the money. What I understand, making a profit, and that's great. I want everybody to make as much as they can. But these guys went overboard. Now, I mean, Facebook got shut down, or no, they got fined. What was it? It was a lot of money, like tens of millions of dollars, because their app. See, the law is that if your phone app, if it uses your GPS to tell where you are, like if you're going into a jewelry store, now you're going to get jewelry ads popping up, right? I mean, that's what you agreed to that in the terms of service. But the law says that when the person shuts that app down, you're supposed to shut the GPS down, and Facebook didn't, apparently.
Yeah, but it gets worse than that. And I can tell you, it's listening to you, and if you mention something, the next thing you know, you're going to get ads about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can say something in the room. I've done that, and it's happened, right? There's also something fascinating about young people who are nostalgic for an era they never experienced because they see it on TV, probably. And that could explain why their pushback isn't just about social media. Gen Z is also not so enchanted by AI. They see it as their enemy in a lot of cases, and it is. Weirdly enough, boomers and AI like AI more than Gen Z does. No, I don't want to read that. It actually makes sense when you think about it. Boomers entered the workforce when technology made their jobs easier. The typewriter became the word processor. The word processor became a computer, and so on. But to Gen Z, it looks like the machine is training to replace them before they've even landed a job. That is true. That's what they fear. One generation sees a better calculator, and the other sees a pink slip. The dumb phone, the rejection of AI, quiet quitting, reduced drinking, economic caution, and fear of permanent online exposure are all pieces of the same larger generational personality puzzle. Gen Z isn't rebellious. They're just more careful. And that's why many are now comparing this generation to the original silent generation. Silent generation was born in 1928, 1945, during the Great Depression, World War II, and at a time when adults were overwhelmed by things they couldn't control. Children quickly learn not to add to the chaos. Shut up, or no meat for you. The silent generation kept their heads down, respected authority, and managed fear internally, and too much attention was something that could be dangerous. Oh, let's watch.
They're anxious. They're risk averse.
Nah, we're not watching that. 22 minutes? No. Sure, Gen Z is more expressive online and open about mental health than the original silent generation ever was. But the resemblance is still pretty interesting. Both generations grew up watching adults struggle to control their world, and both were raised inside systems designed to minimize risk. And they both learned that one mistake could carry consequences for the rest of their lives. Yeah, that could be why Gen Z so-called rebellion looks so quiet. They don't storm the system. They just disengage. Exactly.
Okay, so the silent generation, I thought that was the greatest generation. Because the greatest generation was the ones that fought in World War II.
Yeah,
I thought that's what they call that, the silent generation. I thought they called it the greatest generation.
No, they said silent generation started in 1925 up to 45 or 28 to 45.
45. But
yeah,
if you were like in the 1920s,
right,
you'd be fighting in World War II.
Okay, so maybe then, yeah, it's after World War I, of course.
Maybe, okay, so maybe it's the 1910s, 1920s. I don't know. I'll look it up while you read the next story.
Yeah, Gen Z drops truth bombs. Benny John. Yeah, this is great. Now, guys, this is going to seem racist as hell. Okay, these videos, I don't like them. But Benny Johnson's running it, and he has a message on it. I don't like these videos. This woman is here on a lot of videos, and they're racist AF, but she's not the racist. Okay, I don't know, and they're trying to sell. These are MAGA people doing these. I don't know any MAGA people that are racist. I mean, I'm sure there are some. There's some in every lot, right? But they're trying to make it look like it's a MAGA thing, and it's not. All right, so give this a watch.
You want to hear what I found out?
What's that?
You want to see what I found out here?
I don't
the greatest generation is 1901 to 1927. That's what they're saying.
All right. So this woman here, let me see, did it come through? Yeah, finally. All right, this woman, what she says is the beginning of every one of these racist, that they are racist. But a lot of them, like this one, they're saying is everything they say is true, but you're just not allowed to say it because you would be called a racist, even though it's true. So let's just give this a watch because there's a lesson here. Fact checkers, there's a lesson to why I'm showing this.
Name one thing Black people cannot do that a white person can.
Hey, do you guys want to go to Walmart and load our cart up with just like whatever we want and then go to the self-checkout line and scan like 2 Kool-Aid packets and then walk out of the store pretending like we actually paid for everything? Yeah, then when security tries to stop us, we will immediately get violent and aggressive with them and start yelling about how we didn't do nothing and how we have a receipt on our phone but then not show them the phone. Yeah, then we can load up all the stolen merchandise into our unregistered Nissan Altima and speed off blasting awful rap music and talking about how actually white people owed us all that stuff for reparations even though we are already net negative tax contributors. Gee, I don't know, guys. I think we better just keep following the law and going to work so we can keep paying for all the minorities' welfare programs so they can stay home all day and outbreed us.
So that format of content has gone viral on TikTok. And you're telling me that young Zoomers and as Gen Alpha are not right-wing. They're extremely right-wing. They're extremely awake. And the world that the boomers built is not going to last. Something's going to change pretty drastically in our society. People are waking up and they're done being taken advantage of, honestly. Society is predatory, actually, right now towards working men and women.
Yeah, see, I think the message is that it's gone so far against like the racism against like white Americans, right? It's gone so far that we can't get away from it anymore. So that video, that's the first one I saw like that out of this generation that's going viral. That video was basically a satire of things that are going on that you're really not supposed to say, but everybody knows that, yeah, because our government went soft on it. And, you know, we're going to say like white men are the worst thing in society. We're the ones that are terrorists and all that shit because they're allowed to get away with saying that stuff. And so the younger generations are basically saying, no, we're done with that. We've never done a racist thing in our damn lives, and we're not going to be called that anymore. Screw you. And this is how they're getting the word out. Now, I don't like them because they're like if I didn't play this for like an informational type thing, you know, I could possibly get in trouble. But I wanted you guys to see this. So when you see these, just know that there's something going on there that, you know, don't know why they're doing it, but he has a good take on it. So hang on.
Yeah, I like Benny's analysis of that.
Yeah, me too. Let me see something. What do we got here? Yeah, this guy's good. Hang on, let me play this. Zoran Mamdani. So let's go. Here we go.
Just announced what?
How are you going to keep people from taking advantage of that, that deal, basically? And is there going to be a limit on the number of items that someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket?
So our RFP makes very clear.
Okay, he's talking about the government-run grocery stores that are putting all the guys in the bodegas out of business, and it's gonna harm regular real supermarkets, right? And you know that the food in these places is going to go very low because they're not going to make any money. They're going to be using, taxpayer dollars. It just always crashes and burns like that. So he's talking about
clear that this is a program for New Yorkers to be able to put food on the table, not a program for people to be able to make a quick buck through.
Now he's talking about people that are lazy bums that don't want to get a job, that sit around all day smoking pot, doing whatever they want to do. And he's not talking about, he's not even talking about working poor, I don't think. He's talking about, the Islamics that come in here, get on the dole, don't do any work, have 1 million kids, take over the system, and then slit your throat. So that's
reselling. I'm going to pass it over to our EDC head, JPAC, to add some additional details.
Yes, we look at our the operator. We are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be a sort of a library card esque, and also we manage who's buying and that is focused on everyday New Yorkers. So we are mindful of that. And so we're going to make sure that we have all the things in place to ensure that that does not happen.
So let me get this straight, just to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. Asking people to present a photo ID as they're using a grocery store, not racist. But asking people to present a photo ID as they're voting is racist. Yikes. I'm not tracking your guys' logic here. Come on. Zoran, you are unwell. Zoran, just enough.
Yeah, he is unwell. There's just something wrong with him. And I want to get into the story where they show that they're that he's very thin-skinned. So I think we'll do that one now. Let's see. Thin skin. Here we go. Communist no longer. There it is. The thin-skinned guy. Uh-oh. Oh, damn. New York Times took it down, or New York Post. Oh, wow. They took it down. How do you like that? Holy mackerel. That's bad. Well, let's go to New York Post. Hold on. Oh, wow. They took it down. I can't believe that. What the hell was it? No, they didn't take it down.
It's got to be still out there.
The link is bad. That's what it is. The link I got is bad. Come on. Bring it up. There we go. No, it's hold on. We may get it. No. Oh well. Sorry.
Go into
it was there
archive.
earlier. That's why it's a link on the page. Well,
can you not get it through an archive?
Probably, but
might take you a minute.
Yeah. Wow. Why did they? DNS probe finished. Nick's domain. NX domain. Yeah, it's got two of the two HTTPS protocol in there, two of them, and you really should only have one. And then I hit it, I take the one off, hit it, and then it puts the second one on there. Hold on. Is it coming up? No. So then let's do this way. Maybe they put it on a different. I'm just going to go with the title. Mamdani is thin-skinned. Come on. Hypersensitive. Come on. Oh, now it's on MSN. How do you like that? They moved it to MSN now. Okay. We're going to share it. Get it there. Okay. Mamdani is thin-skinned and hypersensitive in private, despite unflappable social media political crap. All right. So here's a real prima donna. I like what he did there. Social media savvy Mayor Zoran Mamdani is developing a reputation, IRL, as thin-skinned and hypersensitive to public criticism, despite hyping himself online as a smiling and unflappable politician. Scores of insiders spilled to the Post. He's the beginning of the Islamization swarm inside of a country. He's the kind of guy that they would put out there. He has a great smile. He says, everything's going to be free because we really care about you. And then they slit your throat in 10 years. All right. Behind the scenes, his honor huffily badgers critics who dare question him publicly, harbors petty grudges against prominent polls, and often only responds to texts when he's miffed about bad press, according to interviews with more than a dozen elected officials, consultants, and other politicos. Quote, I see more and more he can't handle criticism, but mainly from elected officials who he thinks he can push around. Yeah, he thought he could push Trump around. The mayor personally reaches out when electeds criticize him publicly. If they speak, then he cares. He cares because he doesn't want the bad press, right? It shows a sensitivity. Live in Donald Trump's world for a day. He'd be cowering in a corner, sucking his thumb. The insiders who spoke with the Post about Mamdani asked to remain anonymous to avoid crossing a touchy mayor with whom they must deal over matters of governance and politics. His reputed simmering irritation recently boiled over after city Jewish leaders called on him to stop fanning the flames of hatred against Israel in the wake of an alleged anti-Semitic stabbing attack on the Upper West Side. Sources said the mayor personally called at least one elected official who attended the news conference, complaining about being told to tone down his rhetoric and upset that their exhortation was connected to his video branding Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal, which was posted days before the attack. The controversy. See, the libnuts can say all this shit about Trump, right? And then someone shoots him and they go, you know what? It's because of Trump. No, it's because you assholes keep lying about him and saying he's a threat to democracy and all this crap. Well, this is the same thing here. He has to defend the Marxist model and the Islamic swarm. The controversial 2-minute clip delivered direct to camera by a sober Mamdani sitting at a desk in front of the U.S. Garnered an incredible 100 million views. So he sat there like this, and he smiled, and he got angry, and he said some really nasty shit. Remember? His mastery of social media platforms such as TikTok and Instagram, where he now respectively has 3.5 million to 11.9 million followers, largely fueled Mamdani's meteoric rise during 2025 from little-known state lawmakers to the Big Apple's next mayor, and thus a standard bearer for the nationally ascendant Democratic Socialists of America. He bombarded New Yorkers' feeds with slick, entertaining videos in which he affably pressed his campaign's core message of affordability. See, the problem is that you're not back in the early 1980s. You got conservative outlets everywhere now. And every time he does this BS, he doesn't realize that there's conservatives out there that are pointing out how it's BS, right? That's the problem that he's facing. And I don't think he wants to face it, but he just is, because he doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks that he's getting good messages out, and maybe he is, for his people, but I don't see how he'll get reelected because the left will vote for him anyway. But I don't see how he's going to get any thicker skin if this kind of stuff bothers him. After taking office in January, Mamdani maintained his image-conscious ways by pouring $53 million into a new Office of Mass Engagement, an expansion of his already massive communications team that critics argue is a propaganda organ for City Hall. We don't need to read anymore. He's a little baby who doesn't like to have people say bad things about him. That's what he is. Little J.O. like that. Hey, what's up, Charlie? Good to see you. How you doing? Luigi. Let me see. Hang on a sec. Let's see. Let's do this one. This guy's good. Let's play another one. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Flock cameras.
How do you guys feel about flock cameras? They're popping up all over the place now. So let me know how you feel about flock cameras. All right? Check it out.
So I decided to go to the gun range today, like an American, and tell me why there are flock cameras pointing into the entrance of the parking lot, not the street, into the entrance, so they can read every license plate that comes in here.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I love this. I'm sure there's no ulterior motive behind this either.
Right. Exactly. We're having a surveillance state like they got over in Europe. That's what's going on. Crazy stuff, right? Here's one on John Brennan, who I can't stand.
Need to throw his ass in jail.
I know. So it goes. Is the FBI hiding a 400-page Rosetta Stone that could seal John Brennan's fate? All the crap that he did. And he still goes on MSNBC or Now or whatever they call themselves this week. He still goes on there a lot with that grumpy face. Donald Trump is a disgrace. He's destroying our democracy. Meanwhile, he did things that is a disgrace and could destroy any democracy, right? The Russiagate hoax has produced enough reports, investigations, memos, hearings, surveillance applications, and declassified documents to wallpaper the Sistine Chapel. But about a decade later, Americans are still trying to answer the most important question of all. What the hell actually happened? Was Crossfire Hurricane just some FBI investigation plagued by honest errors, bad judgment, embarrassing incompetence? No, we already know that it was set up by Obama, because former DNI Tulsi Gabbard had all the things declassified, and she said, yeah, he got an intelligence assessment that said that Russia doesn't have the capability of overturning an election. They don't have it. And so he threw that shit out, and he called in James Clapper, the DNI at the time. He called in Brennan, the CIA chief, and he called in Comey, who's head of the FBI, which has become more and more an intelligence department, then agency, then law and order. But now Cash is bringing that back to law enforcement, right? So, or was it one part of a massive intelligence operation designed to target Donald Trump before he ever entered the White House? That's exactly what it was. And then they targeted President-elect Donald Trump, and then they had their cronies still in there who were targeting President Trump, like Rod Rosenstein. You had Valerie Jarrett still there. Susan, what the hell her name is? I forget her name. Susan Rice. She was in there working in the White House. Can you believe it? Susan Rice, Valerie Jarrett. Unreal. We think we all know the answer to that burning question, but the issue is we don't have the hard facts in our hot little hands in order to put these bad guys behind bars. And now, investigative reporter Paul Sperry, that's a name you should remember and follow him on X, says the FBI may be sitting on a big document that could finally help answer that question and lock some people up. And according to his very reliable sources, FBI headquarters is inexplicably refusing to release it to the public. I don't know. Could it be the same thing with the Epstein files? There's a lot of people in there that are a victim. I don't know. But I can't see Cash not now, if they just got it, okay, yes, they got to go over it. That's 400 pages. They have to go redact that. You know, they got to do it, right? And so people live in this age. They want instant gratification. You're not going to get it with stuff like that. So Sperry says the missing file is a 400-page report prepared by the FBI's Office of Professional Responsibility. Those are the guys that they know all the rules that FBI agents are supposed to meet, and they fire you if they don't. That's how second in command of Andrew. I'm having an awful time with names today. He was fired. He was fired by the DOJ because he leaked to the press, and there was a woman who was the head of this office here, and she just came out and said, "Look, the number one rule they teach you at Quantico is do not leak to the press, because if you do, you're no longer trusted, and you have to be trusted to sit on the stand as a witness." You know, and then if the other attorney comes up and goes, "Didn't you get caught leaking stuff to the press, which is a felony?" You know, you can't do it. It's instant dismissal. So the FBI's Office of Professional and 7,000 pages of supporting documents. That's almost 8,000 pages that reveals the way the Bureau handled Crossfire Hurricane, the totally fraudulent investigation that was open during the 2016 election about Trump's campaign and supposed fake ties to Russia. That's what gets me. This whole thing comes out. They're all pointing at Trump and blaming him. No one ever said, "Hey, Barack, this shit happened on your watch. How could you let the Russians attack our election like that?" No one ever said. They went to Trump, who had no power whatsoever in the government. He was a candidate. What the hell power did he have? You think any foreign entity is going to go to a candidate? Imagine they get caught on that. Oh, they tried to get a candidate, right? So they never once pointed to Barack, you know, and said, "Yo, dude, this happened on your watch. Stop trying to blame a freaking candidate." Right? The Office of Professional Responsibility is the FBI's internal disciplinary machine. Their job is to look at allegations of misconduct and figure out if FBI personnel violated laws, regulations, standards. It's like IAB, right? In short, this is the FBI investigating the FBI. According to Sperry, that internal investigation produced this massive report back in 2021. But when the White House Transparency Task Force released its latest batch of declassified Crossfire Hurricane documents, that big old report was nowhere to be found. And neither were the thousands of pages supporting it. Was it some accidental oversight? Probably not. Sperry's sources say it's much bigger than that. They say the report is the Rosetta Stone of the Russiagate hoax. What exactly does that mean? Well, the original Rosetta Stone allowed scholars to decode ancient Egyptian writing by connecting the same message across different languages. So that nickname here means the FBI report could help connect years of disjointed evidence, communications, intelligence decisions, and key players into one big story. Basically, it's a roadmap of who knew what, who supplied the lies, how did everything travel from point A to point B, and most importantly, what role did former CIA Director John Brennan play? We'd likely find out if this hoax was just an FBI scheme or if it involved intelligence partners outside the United States. Yes, and yes. And that last part brings us to the Five Eyes part of the story. The Five Eyes are 5 countries, their intelligence apparatus. So Five Eyes is usually written this way, FVEY. What is it? It's the intelligence sharing partnerships of the United States, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. I would get rid of Canada right now because they're commies. And the UK, I love the UK people, but their government, I don't know. Sperry says the unreleased FBI report implicates Brennan and Five Eyes partners in the 2016 intelligence operation targeting Trump. The report says what Sperry sources claim it says. It would explain which foreign intelligence was gathered, exchanged, or used as part of the bigger plan to take down an American presidential campaign. Sperry also says the document could be extremely valuable to federal prosecutors in Florida who are working on the Russiagate hoax case. A report that big could contain a lot of info, things like timelines, interviews, internal findings, communications, names, and supporting evidence capable of pointing prosecutors toward the most important parts of this absurdly complicated case. So again, that explains the Rosetta Stone nickname. And yet, while the White House is releasing more and more Crossfire Hurricane material in the name of transparency, the report, which could be the key to everything, is reportedly locked away inside FBI headquarters. Here's the thing. That the Crossfire Hurricane documents, those are the documents that Trump had down in Mar-a-Lago, and I've showed it here like a half dozen times. He wrote a presidential memo on June 19th, 2020, which means he was still president. So he wrote a presidential memo saying the Crossfire Hurricane documents are now declassified. He declassified them all. And so the bullshit story was, oh, he stole these classified documents. He didn't have a right to do it. Every president, since George Washington had the right to have presidential records, except Donald Trump. And NARA, the National Archive people, they had no problem with him taking it until what I heard was Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi got on the director of that agency and said, you better do something or we're going to cut your funding, all this. That came out and said, we want those documents back. But they had no problem with any of it prior to that.
Yeah, he even had the documents people over to inspect his lockup, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he did. He came over and he said, hey, guys, what's up? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you need anything? And they're, oh, no. They were there. We now know they were there the first time before the raid, which was like just a couple weeks before the raid. They were there. What they were doing was they were trying to see what he had against them. Biden sent it in there because Obama told him, find out what documents he has, because they read that presidential memo and said, uh-oh, that's probably what he's got, because he was going to bring charges against them in the beginning. So Democrats, as usual, what they did is they just projected the crimes onto Trump. And so they got the number one guy who freaking hated Trump, which was Jack Smith, who just absolutely hated him. So let's see. Let's get back.
Yeah, they had the documents people. They had the archives people in, and they said something about adjusting one lock. And that was all they had to say at that time, because he had everything, properly handled.
Right. Let's see what else. Yeah, let's bring this one in as a follow-up to that story. 4 prosecutors refused to pursue the hacker behind the 2020 breach of 633,000 Arizona voters. So after a hacker exfiltrated the data of 633 Maricopa County, Arizona voters' records in 2020, 0 prosecutors at any level of government would prosecute despite urging from the FBI. Documents released Thursday morning by the White House Government Transparency Task Force detail the massive data breach and investigation by the FBI, a suspect who admitted to the crime, and a years-long attempt by the FBI to get someone to prosecute, only to close the case due to a lack of prosecutor interest. Can you imagine if this was Republicans? It'd be a totally different story. Quote, the suspect, perhaps to the chagrin of his attorney, admitted to all of the conduct involved, including that he noticed the vulnerability for quite some time. He considered himself a hobbyist hacker, that in the fall and spring, he began looking for ways to exploit the site. An administration official said on a Wednesday call with reporters, quote, he ultimately believes that over the course of a period of time, he extracted 1 million to 2 million voter registration records, and then he stored them in 4 gigabytes on his hard drive. Nothing to see here. About 930 records, or 633,000, included sensitive, non-public voter information, such as domestic violence victimization. Although no ballots were accessed, so they say, or changed, so they say, and no regulations were changed, an administration official says the data breach displays a major vulnerability in the voting system and 2020 election that Democrats and corporate press have persistently maintained was the most secure in history. Exactly.
Yeah, you think? You think?
The first denial to prosecute the crime came from the U.S. Attorney for the District of Arizona on June 12, 2021, about 6 months into the Biden administration. The Arizona Attorney General, Maricopa County District Attorney, and the Pinal County District Attorney all also declined to prosecute the hacker. Why? Because it would have proved that the Democrats, we don't even need to read anymore. It would have proved that the Democrats cheated their asses off. That's why.
But, you know, it worked out because that's the best gift the Democrats ever gave the Republicans.
Yeah, because
was not having Trump win in 2020, because he would have been saddled. He would have been saddled with all the same people that would have sabotaged him. Instead, look what he came back with.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Okay, so let's bring this one up. My old boss, David Harris Jr. Here we go. So this is him. He's on Newsmax 2 now.
Tonight, a visual that should shake every single American to their core. Massive Muslim gatherings are taking place all over the world, but this video is not from the Middle East. It was recorded right here in the United States. Thousands of Muslims packed the streets of Dearborn, Michigan on Saturday. And if you look closely, you'll notice something's completely missing.
What's missing from
this?
And
that's any sign of American patriotism. Reports indicate that U.S. flags were actually explicitly banned from the event. Friends, this isn't just an isolated incident. It's a complete institutional shift. Dearborn's police chief, he loves it. And it's actively boasting about he transformed his own department.
Right.
And it does not stop in Dearborn, friends. New York City's Muslim mayor, he took part in a similar ceremony. Zohar Mamdani, he posted these pictures on social media along with a message saying, quote, may we carry these values forward as we continue building a more just city for every New Yorker. Now, if thousands of Muslims marching in the streets of an American city is not enough to worry you, a city neighboring Dearborn recently tried to put Arabic script directly onto official police uniform patches.
You believe this?
The mayor eventually stepped in and stopped it. But Dennis, it looks like these local leaders are trying to completely dismantle the American way of life in favor of Islam. What are your thoughts?
They're totally pandering to invaders. I mean, if you want to come to our country because we are the greatest nation on earth and you want to be part of it, follow the rules, come here legally. But if you're coming here because you want to change us to adapt to your ways, then don't come here at all. And this idea of a call for remigration and taking people who aren't here fully legally or who are protesting the very nation that they wanted to join, I think that should really get going, because enough, we are being invaded, and you can only look at Europe and what's happened in the UK and all those terrible things, and they let it happen. And it is, as God said, the author says, suicidal empathy.
Tonight, a visual that should shake every single American.
We were already shaken, David, and thank you. Isn't that crazy? Hey, what's up, Linda? Good to see you. So let's see. Let's do another video. Why not? Yeah. So the Great Awakening. Oh yeah, this is good. Stop. All right, let me go back. Okay. This is, I like this one. This woman, what she says. And more people are coming to this realization. Ready?
It's like the Great Awakening. Listen to this lib. She just woke up.
America, I'm so sorry.
I apologize. I take full responsibility. I am partly responsible for what's happening in America, for what's happening in Dearborn, Michigan, for what's happening in New York City. We left Iran, we left Islamic Republic for exactly this reason, because radical terrorist Muslims took over the country and are literally killing, raping, torturing, and executing innocent people right now as we speak for the past 47 years. And I thought by voting Democrat, liberals, every single year, every single time there was an election, that meant we are going to make America, keep America great. We're going to definitely not negotiate with terrorism. That's exactly what the left media made me believe. And I'm here to say, I apologize. I was brainwashed this whole time. It took me over 20 years to realize that Democrats and liberals are the reason this country is the way it is. They're the ones that are okay with the American flag being burned in New York City, that the American flag is okay to be burned. It's part of democracy. It's the most anti-American thing to do. And wishing death upon America is the most anti-American thing you can do. It has nothing to do with democracy. Right. And I'm here to apologize and let my husband know that he was right. He was rara. Gotta let my husband know that he was rara. I don't know why it's so hard to say this. I am here to announce that my husband was right. It's very painful. I'm here to announce that my husband was right. Oh, that took everything I had. That he was right about everything. That Republicans are the ones that are gonna help make America great again. I also believed that make America great again meant make America white again. That's because the left media wanted me to believe that. I am here to announce I'm sorry. And I will be part of the group that will make America great again. And I will proudly vote Republican from now on. God bless. And again, I apologize for everything I've done.
Listen, we'll take the apology. I'm glad you woke up. Do the right thing going forward.
Exactly. Love it. A lot of people are coming to that. I know. A lot of people are coming to that realization, man.
Have you seen some of the articles? I like Reagan too. Have you seen some of the articles about Muslims in Europe converting to Christianity?
Oh yeah. Well, my church, we have, well, in Europe, but my church, we have missionaries, and we give money to these Christian churches in Pakistan. You get arrested and thrown in prison if you're a Christian there. And the way they have their churches, they're mobile, they're tents, and they go in the mountains where nobody's going to be around, but everybody gets the word, and hundreds of people show up. For Bible meetings and having mass. It's like on the rise. It really is.
Yeah. What's interesting is for Muslims to be an apostate is Sharia law. It's death.
Yeah, exactly. They could kill you, but in most of them, they arrest you. You do time, then they cut a hand off. Whatever it is in that.
Well, the hand thing, that's for stealing.
Yeah, each country is different.
That's for stealing. Cutting the hand
I'm
off.
wondering where all our UK friends are. They're not here. Are they at Dave's? Is he having a late? I hear his streams end when ours begin, but that's all right. I like him. America with. Oh, this is another good one. Hold on, gotta boost up. Okay, here we go. This is great. It's called America without Republicans. Ready?
When you do communism right, it works perfectly and everyone loves it.
And it only took 200 million starving to get here.
That's less than half as many as we thought.
There has been another terrorist attack with 33 dead. The American government has decided not to do anything about it since we probably deserved it.
It sure is great that abortion is now free and available for everyone everywhere.
Yeah, but it's too bad that there aren't any babies to abort since we outlawed being a heterosexual.
Murdering those families was wrong, but you're an immigrant and you probably just didn't know any better. Plus, we shut down all prisons. You're free to go.
This is wrong. You need to lock him up.
How dare you question our compassion? Execute that man immediately. I found more letters we need to add to the acronym.
It's already so large, it's throwing off the rotation of the earth. If we add any more letters, we'll die.
Then we die. Everyone just stay in line and walk through the scanner. It's going to check how dark your skin is to see how many benefits you get.
If I were you, I wouldn't bother.
The U.S. has run out of money.
Can't we just murder more billionaires and confiscate their wealth?
There are no more left. I'm afraid someone in our country is actually going to have to get a job and work.
I love it. What did Oscar Wilde say? If you want to tell the truth, make them laugh. Otherwise, they kill you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like Bernie. I like Bernie at the end of it.
Yeah, I know. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Okay. Let's see. What's next? What's next? Let's see. When will the climate liars stop lying?
Oh, that'd be good.
Never. Here we go. This is from Issues and Insights. The editorial board. Let's make it a little bigger. All right. For nearly 40 years, longer than that, the global warming cabal has spread fear and wasted resources on an emergency that doesn't exist. Thank you. While their influence has begun to wane, as their credibility has crashed and their lies have been exposed, the fabrications, exaggerations, and junk science continue. How much longer must we endure their campaign of rancid propaganda? The dawning moment of the global warming movement was NASA scientist James Hassan's June 1988 testimony before the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Quote, in my opinion, he told the lawmakers, the greenhouse effect has been detected and it's changing our climate now. He's full of crap. There was evidence, he insisted, that the earth is warming by an amount which is too large to be a chance fluctuation. And the similarity of the warming of that expected from the greenhouse effect represents a very strong case. He's from the Club of Rome. And yet, 38 years later, there's been no climate catastrophe. Don't you love it where they go, in 12 years from now, if we don't stop having a good time, we're all going to die. And then 12 years later, you go, hey, we're all here and more people are being born than ever before. What up? They're like, shut up. I'm on to the next climate hoax. That's just how it goes. Reality hasn't slowed the flood of lies, though. Let's take a look at a few. Washington Governor Jay Inslee reflexively blamed his state's wildfires on climate change. You know why? Because it was really on mismanagement of forestry, and he didn't want to take the blame. So climate change is that magical excuse that you can use for almost everything. Soon thereafter, a man was arrested in connection with one of the 3 fires burning through Spokane County and has been questioned in arson investigations into other fires. And as our friends at Powerline, which is a great blog, our friends at Powerline have noted, wildfire damage in terms of acres burned peaked nearly a century ago, and in fact is down more than 80%. Exactly. In fact, we are still in an ice age, believe it or not. In other words, we're not an ice age, but we're in a cooling down.
Yeah, well, actually, we are in an ice age. It's called the interglacial period of this ice age.
Right.
And that's basically, it's the glaciers have regressed, bottom line.
Yeah.
But what's interesting, Rich, what do you think? Now, the world, this earth has been both much colder and much warmer.
Oh, yeah.
In the past. Okay.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what I want to know, when we had, average temperature, like 10 or 15 degrees warmer and oxygen concentrations up to, 28, 30%. So were the dinosaurs driving SUVs? Is that what the problem was?
Yeah, that's what they think. But, it started with the Club of Rome that wanted to find a way. They were a bunch of Marxists, and they were sanctioned by the UN because they were run by a bunch of Marxists. And they wanted to find a way that they could take over the world. And so one of the things they thought was, okay, so if we can find something that we can globally add a tax to fix, and we can blame the people themselves for it happening. Oh, so they came up with global warming. And then when icebergs weren't floating down, Main Street, USA. So what happened then? Then they went to climate change, because climate change doesn't mean that, there's global warming. It means all kinds of other bullshit lies is what they're saying. So let's get back to it. So NPR wants Americans to believe climate change is now threatening a pillar of childhood summer break, which has become increasingly dangerous through heat, wildfire, smoke, floods, and storms. Retired meteorologist Anthony Watts says the premise is false, ridiculous even, with NPR relying almost entirely on anecdotes rather than evidence. Did you know that even today, okay, the only so-called evidence these climate hoax people that they have for any of their predictions coming true is through computer models. They have no real world data. Yes, we do. No, you don't. They have computer models.
Well, they have sea surface temperatures, but the problem is if you tell me that you're measuring sea surface temperatures over the past 50 years, how has the technology changed, and how does the measurement today equate to the measurement 30, 40, 50 years ago?
Exactly.
And, I think what people have to understand is weather changes, climate changes.
Right.
It has done that since the Earth was born.
Right.
And it's going to continue until the moon flies off its orbit and we fly into the sun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's get back to it. Yeah. What has changed is not that summer suddenly became dangerous. What has changed is the media's insistence on framing ordinary weather challenges as catastrophic symptoms of dangerous climate change. How come when we have a polar vortex, which we had one, I think, last year, how come when we have that and it's -5 degrees for like 3 or 4 days? Can they blame that on climate change? Oh, sure, because it's climate change. Like the climate doesn't change every day. Ask yourself this too. If they can't tell you accurately every day what the weather's going to be 72 hours out, how are we supposed to believe they can tell what's going to happen in 12 years? It's such bullshit. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who is responsible for the migrant invasion from Morocco, swears that climate change kills, and not just people, but also our ecosystem, our biodiversity, as well as the things we as a society hold dear, our houses, our businesses, our livestock. Climate change kills our houses. That's like saying roads are racist, but I digress. And where is the evidence? He offered none, because there isn't any. Why do voters in Western nations keep putting loons in office? I don't know. The BBC, yes, the Biased Broadcasting Corporation reported last fall that Australia's Great Barrier Reef is headed for a grim future. Oh, no. And could suffer a rapid coral decline by 2050. Then when 2050 happens, there's more coral around. Shut up. I'm on the next hoax. Due to global warming. You remember when they kept saying the icebergs are melting? They were talking about one specific iceberg, and it was melting. But then they found out like 5 years ago, it was melting because there's a fucking volcano underneath it. There's an underwater volcano that pushes out the heat, the same heat that you would find anywhere else on an above one, and it's melting it. They won't tell you that, though, but other people did. The statistics, however, show that the experts have been telling us a fairy tale. Over the more than 20 million years it has existed, the Great Barrier Reef has endured much warmer and much colder temperatures than today. That's the whole thing.
Yay.
We've
bingo.
been here before.
It's
all cyclical.
That is the biggest point. Did you know that Antarctica was a jungle at one point? Did you know that?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know the Sahara Desert was an ocean?
Yeah, and did you know that there was an ocean that split, what is it, Laramidia from Laurentia in North America?
Yeah.
There's a big ocean right in the middle. So the Earth goes through cycles. I think there's two things that are patently obvious. One, the Earth has been both much cooler and much warmer than it is now in the past. Number two, humans have affected it, but by how much? By how much?
I know. Oh, I know.
I think we've affected it. I don't think we have any good way of measuring it, but chances are the effect that we've had on the climate, not the weather, the climate, and that's different.
Right.
But the fact that humans have had on the climate is probably really pretty small.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, you heard Trump during his campaigns, right? The campaign for this term, right? He would go out there. I heard him say this live because I was at one of his his rallies, right? And he says, you have John Kerry flying all over the place and all these expensive jets pouring fuel, and he goes, he's worried about the climate. He says, Kerry says scientists are saying that after much study and much evaluations that the temperature will rise 1/2 of 1% over the next 300 fucking years. That's how he said it. And the audience like roared laughing because you have a presidential candidate talking like that. It was funny. So over 300 years, the climate might rise like that
so
little amount.
If you get a half a degree or a degree of increase in temperature,
Lou says, yes, Dr. Jade, it's shown on the Perry-Reese map of 1533. Antarctica was habitable.
Habitable, he meant.
I think that's what he meant. But it's a habitual criminal.
Yeah, but
that's
what I mean. You can cherry pick the number you want, and yes, the sea surface temperature is warmer. But again, one of the problems is what was the technology used to measure it?
Yeah,
because the technology we use today is not the same as we had before.
For our Brits out there, I'm old enough to remember the East Anglia scandal. Okay, East Anglia University. All right, and like when you like every, I guess, subject study in universities, they always have a Pentagon. Like there's one school that they're doing the big study on it, and every other school sends their paperwork to them to get published and whatnot, right? And so East Anglia was it for climate change. And then some hackers hacked their servers and stole everything, copied everything, right? They put a link out and I downloaded it, right? I still have it somewhere, but I downloaded it and it pointed out like it had emails to each other. Like, well, this hypothesis didn't work. So how do we fool people and make them seem that it worked? They literally said they didn't think anybody would ever read their internal bullshit, right? And so one of the things I remember was called the smoking gun. In fact, I could bring the article up. It's probably still up there, but it was a guy who was an engineer, but being an engineer, he had to learn some programming. So he learned Ada. Ada is a language that like ATMs use. I don't know if they still do, but an ATM would use it because it has to be autonomous. Like it has to be linked up to, in the old days, it wasn't linked up to the internet because there was no internet. It would take your card and it would register it all inside the machine, and then the banks would come and pull it out and like a thumbnail, whatever it was, right? So anyway, but in East Anglia, they had it where he said, okay, I know this Ada code. And he goes, and here in East Anglia, he goes, they had a program. Remember the hockey stick graph? Remember that shit? It was like the hockey stick graph and it rose up and all that. It looked like a hockey stick. Well, it was all bullshit because he says, look, in this code here, and he points it out and he says, there's a variable here that what it does is it intermittently raises the temperature ×2 of whatever it is. And then they do something else to it. And that's how it keeps rising and rising. But it never, like they supposedly had like a temperature prong that they put into the earth in certain places around the world. And that's how it read the temperature. It never read anything. They just lied. And he said, and here's the really funny part. These programmers never thought anybody would see their code. So they named that variable fudge factor, meaning the lie. It was fudge factor. And now they spent like millions upon millions of dollars, East Anglia, trying to rebuild their reputation. So they just paid thousands of dollars to periodicals and websites and all that to just scrub everything about it. But you can still find this stuff. Let me see. We are the 6th or 7th civilization occupying. Nice.
No, I don't know about that, Louis, but I do know that there has been, is it 5 or 6 major extinctions? And the one that we know about that took out the non-avian dinosaurs 66 million years ago, that's like the least of them. Like the Permian extinction, 95% of everything disappeared.
Oh yeah, yeah.
95% of plants, 95% of animals, done.
Right. Let me get back to this. In a story about a report that should have been ignored, the BBC also screeched that climate change is slowing Earth's spin, and there's nothing quite like it in 3.6 million years. We're supposed to believe that water from polar ice sheet and glacier melting caused by human-caused global warming flows into the oceans and spreads toward the equator, shifting mass away from Earth's poles, slowing the rotation. Sounds pretty bad, right? Asked meteorologist Chris Maltz. Well, it's only by 1.33 milliseconds per century. And the article mentions that if you read beyond the headline, but Earth's rotation speed has never been constant. In fact, it has steadily been gradually slowing over 4 billion years because of frictional effects between the Earth and the moon. Quote,
Let me interject. Do you know how long a day was 4 billion years ago?
I don't know, a day?
6 hours.
Oh, cool.
6 hours. The Earth rotated 6 hours, and the moon appeared like twice the size in the sky because it's been moving away from the Earth steadily at about, I think it's 1.5 centimeters.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is it a centimeter per year or something? But anyway, yeah.
For the planet's rotation to slow by only 1 whole second, it would take more than 75,000 years. So this is just noise. It is biologically and technologically insignificant on timescales relevant to us. The above is light sampling of the nonsense that the warming ideologues continue to yak up. Eventually, we'll be able to ignore their quackery as more and more realize they can't be trusted. Until then, we'll have to keep pointing. Check this out. I want to bring up, let me see. I want to bring up that article and show you.
Yeah, the thing is, it's going to do what it's going to do. You know, they say Mars had flowing rivers and oceans.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know,
well, they did. They do. They can tell that.
Yeah,
sinuous channels and stuff like that.
Yeah, they think they've really found good evidence of it.
Right.
And you know, it's like shit's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And all the wishing in the world isn't going to change that.
Right. Where the hell is it?
And all the blaming in the world, just to make people feel guilty and like Louis said, to control us.
Yeah, let's see. That's not it. Oh no, I'm just going to spend another few seconds on it. Reports.
Bring up the comment from Louis about the moon not being a natural satellite. Yeah, well, it depends what you mean. Some people believe it's hollow and has aliens in it. But my understanding,
but those people drink an awful lot and have mental problems in their families.
My understanding, it was it arose from a collision with what the scientists call planet Thera, if memory serves.
Yeah,
and the Earth went kaboom, and part of that kaboom threw a whole lot of kaboom stuff into the air fast enough that it went into orbit and it consolidated into the moon. So whether you think that's a natural satellite, I guess. That's my understanding from my reading, anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Thea, not Thera. Thea.
Right. We're gonna finish this.
That's the planet.
Well, hold on. I think let me see if I can.
I'm just trying to fill in while you look for stuff.
I know. I just want to find this because I got to read it because you guys will be like, "Oh my God, check that out." So let me see. Is it under global? Put it under global warming. I think I put it under global. EFGHI. All right, hold on. Global warming, there it is. And it is the smoking gun. Where is it? Wow, yeah, see? Where is it? Embarrassing predictions. There's so much shit that these people have lied about. Let me see. Climate change. Tampers with data. Yeah, they had NASA had to under Obama. Well, here's one. Do they still have the article? Yes, they do. Oh, you're going to love this one. Let me read this one to you. This is, guys, this one is super crazy, I think, anyway. But where do you see this? Let me see. Can I, do this one instead. The mind of a con man. Now, why did it do that? What's going you're going to make me pay. Crap. Well, this guy, damn, I can't do it now. That guy was he was a sociologist. And he became famous. He was in Europe, and he became famous because all of his studies were actually taken serious by the universities, and then serious by the politicians of those governments, and then serious about governments around the world. And they made laws and whatnot. So he had things like to prove that capitalism was bad, that the more people sat around a table with a bowl of M&Ms, the more that they ate, was indicative of if they had a sign up that said capitalism or not. So if they put a sign on the table that said capitalism, people ate more and more. And when they didn't eat as much. Okay. This guy was famous, had like dozens and dozens of experiments, had the graduate students that worked for him, right? Very well-known guy. And it turns out he was completely full of shit his entire career. He made it all up. And it was one reporter that followed him to the very end. And it was because it was a story that he wrote. And he said it was an interview with a story that was written about him. And he said that he started out because he was at this train station in Dusseldorf. And he said, and he sat down on the bench that was there and he started looking and thinking about the way people were interacting with each other. And so this reporter's like, wait a minute, I'm from there. And I know that train station. There was never a bench there. What the hell is he? So he started looking into him. And the guy was just totally full of shit. And so laws were literally made, right, against like conservatives because of his work. Let's see. I have to work alone without Anglo. I know. Where the hell is Anglo? Where's 40? No, well, I'm getting dizzy.
Did you see the rest? Did you see the rest of what Linda wrote a little further up there?
Oh no! Oh, see you next Tuesday. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I like to say can't understand normal thinking. Yeah, let's see.
I had to explain "see you next Tuesday" to somebody.
Oh really? Yeah. Here we go. Let's see. Let's play this one. The real reason. Oh wow. Okay, I got a couple that we can play. Let's watch this one.
Yeah, Louis, I've heard that the asteroid belt was a broken up planet. I didn't remember that the rest of it was Mars, but that's very possible.
So we got that up. Yes, it's up. Okay, let's just watch this.
Watch myself get challenged on the Flagrant podcast, and then watch what happens next.
I guess in the circumstance with the person who lives on the island has never heard about Christianity. Yeah. But what if he lives his life as a Christian because God is omnipresent, right? Like God maybe has given him the gospel in a different way than he gave it to you. What if that person is living a devoutly Christian life and the God that he's praying to might not be named Jesus Christ?
In one way, part of that is still saying you can earn it, in that he's doing the right things.
And he doesn't even know he's doing it.
But the only way to heaven is through Jesus Christ.
So that's where it does get tricky. And there is a sense of Jesus saying, I'm the way, the truth, and life. No one comes to the Father but through me. I would say we have an imperative to tell that person about the God that they believe in and who that is.
Nobody wants hell.
Well,
you just accept, and I guess Hindus accept Jesus as, I've read like a yogi, essentially, but maybe not the only form of God. And theoretically, I think it aligns with Christianity in some ways, if God is everywhere, we could all be God. Jesus is a human that achieved his inner God. So
that would be the Hindu way of working.
Right? But then we accept Jesus. And
even Hinduism is exclusivistic in certain regards. So like no one is entirely inclusivistic.
No,
right?
wonder why
the exclusivists have to exclude the inclusivists, and the inclusivists have to exclude.
How would we? And I'm not. Look, I don't know enough. So how are we exclusivists?
Right. So depending on what version of Hinduism you're talking about, because there's polytheistic Hinduism, there's monotheistic Hinduism, and there's atheistic or non-theistic Hinduism.
Yeah, you could
right?
be atheist Hindu. Yeah.
So they can't all be true. So truth by its very nature is exclusive. So if you look at all the world religions, I would ultimately say they're all exclusivistic at some regard. Right. I say Jesus is
exclusivistic in the most important regard.
Well, yeah. So I would say Christianity is inclusivistic in that all are called to come.
Yeah.
But it is exclusivistic in that Jesus loves you and calls you to come as you are, but he loves you too much to leave you where you are.
I'm hating Christianity more and more. You moving me from Christ. I was closer than I was an hour and a half ago.
What do you think about what?
Oh, well. I had somebody send that to me. I find that kind of stuff interesting when you sit around and talk about that kind of stuff. Not about, getting into the Bible and talking about, all the little things that they have in there, the books and all the little minutia things that you want to discuss. But I like talking about like comparing Christianity to other religions around the world. I just find it fascinating.
Well, it is interesting because, okay, if your God is all powerful and all present.
You see what I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of weird shit on YouTube,
Yeah.
like this stream.
Yeah. Well, good. Good for you. Good for you. Yeah.
Without it,
But
Christianity had no key.
if your God is omniscient and omnipresent, then the other God that's omniscient and omnipresent should be the same thing, whether you call God the same thing or not. And Jesus Christ is a manifestation of God. In so it's like when we talk about the Trinity, we don't call that a polytheistic image. We talk about the Trinity, but it's the same. It's all one. It's all God.
Yeah.
So, but
let's do another.
yeah,
one.
Louis, if you come up with ways to make this stream any more bizarre or stranger, let me know.
Oh yeah, let us know, dude. Let's see. Here we go. This is a good one.
I'll say, let me show you in just about 6 words why your country is the most extraordinary, exceptional, and different than any that's ever been. And I would go up and I would write on the board just 6 words. I'd write God, G-O-D, really big at the top. I go halfway down the board and I write king, lowercase k. I drew a bunch of arrows down and I write the people / the subjects. I step back and I look at that and I say, now what you're looking at here is sort of a graphic depiction of the philosophy called the divine right of kings. And it comes from, it's an old European medieval notion. Most of the great nations you studied subscribe to some form of this. They believe basically that there was a higher power, but the king, the earthly king, is the sovereign. The king is the one that can tell you what property you can hold, what rights you have, sometimes who you can marry, how many kids you have, what you're going to do for a living. The king is the boss. And then that's why the arrows come down and they see the people / the subjects. Now in 1776, these guys came along and they didn't buy that, right? Because you know what? They were students of scripture. Of the 56 signers of the Declaration, many of them had seminary degrees. They were all students of our Judeo-Christian heritage and our scripture, and they understood that did not line up with the truth there. And so G.K. Chesterton was the famous British philosopher and statesman, and he summarized one time, he said, America is the only nation in the world that was founded upon a creed. He says this with almost theological lucidity or clarity in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
It's like a statement of faith. What is the creed? Second paragraph of the Declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident. By the way, in the first draft, Jefferson had written it, we hold these truths to be sacred and inviolate.
Right.
And Benjamin Franklin said, that's too wordy. Let's just go with self-evident. Okay, so
In Vulgate.
we hold these truths to be self-evident, but when I'm explaining this to college students, I say, hold on, what is a self-evident truth? And make them think through that. And ultimately, they'll conclude it's something that's obvious. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And I always stop and I say, wait a minute, it doesn't say born equal. It says created equal. There's very intentional wording. Those truths be self-evident, all men are created equal, were endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, and among those rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now, what's so revolutionary, bold, even crazy about that, the reason it sparked the American Revolution and set us on course to be this great country is because no country had ever done that before.
Right.
They defied this idea of the earthly king.
Right. It used to be that your rights came from the monarch. Right. And what our guy said was, fuck that. Rights come from God, are given to the people, and the people loan them to the politicians, which is why we have frequent elections. It was a complete paradigm shift of how the world had worked up to that point.
Whiteboard, I get the eraser and I go up and I erase king, erase all the arrows that went down from king to the people and the subjects, erase the word to subjects. I back up. All that's left now on the board is God and the people. And then I draw all the arrows down from God to the people. And I say, that is a very simple explanation. What made your country different than all the ones before?
Exactly. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you know, in what year was it? Emperor Hirohito admitted he was not actually divine. He was not.
He had to do it on the ship when they
was it at the same time as the surrender?
Yeah. He had that was part. They said that what was it on whatever surrender, and they said he had to do that because the reason why it was so hard to fight them, they decided to put the bomb down instead of go onto the island because they thought that he was divine, the emperor. Yeah. They were fighting for a god. They thought he was a guy. If you were religious and you thought that your God lived with you, you would give your life up, right? If you were that much of a fanatic about it, right? That's like, the Allah, those guys. They do the same thing, except they're a little, they're a little touched in the head. But let's move on. So we got another one with Trish Regan. Let me see, what's it called? Trump. Okay. Let's bring this one up. Share screen. Here we go. Okay.
Trump just sent Ma'am Dami a warning.
We can't be hoodwinked. We can't be taken advantage of by people that say you're going to have a free home. You're going to get free rent. Everything's going to be free. What they don't say is a year later, everything is going to end up in squalor, destruction, and death, and also death for our country. So we have to stop the threat of the communist rhetoric that you're hearing right now, because these people, they don't act. I'm very happy a poll came out. It said they're highly educated, but doing very poorly.
Yeah.
In other words, they're losing.
You ever notice most of the very highly educated libnuts, okay, they got all this education. They're better than you. Just ask them. They'll tell you, right? They're poor.
Well, it's really hard to make a lot of money with, a basket weaving degree.
Yeah, and gender studies and, all that shit. But even like a lot of them have PhDs and whatnot, but what do? They go into social work. Make like $25, $30 an hour. Who can live off that? All right.
They went to school. They got a good education. Now they can't.
Sorry, what did you
They
say?
went to school. They got a good education. They're doing very poorly. In other words, they're losers. They went to school. They got a good education. Now they can't. They don't know what they're doing. So what they do is they complain about people like yourselves that have done so well.
Exactly.
We can't let the communist ideology we don't want to even think about it for this country. It would be terrible.
They are losers.
I had libnuts today on Facebook who were arguing that, all of a sudden when the Epstein files are a problem, now he doesn't like communists. And I was writing to him and I was like, you dipshit. Like, the reason he's talking about communism is because the DSA went communist. Like the Democratic Socialists of America used to be socialists when they first started out. They were socialists. Now they're commies. Like, how do you know that, Rich? Just listen to their freaking words. Listen to what they're asking for. Read their platform. They're commies. That's the way it is. So let's read something for once, right?
I just see something here that apparently Iran is just about to announce that their dear leader is dead.
What, in Iran?
Yeah.
Well, he was killed on the first night.
No. The new dear leader, the son. The one that we haven't seen, Moshe.
Yeah, he knew his time was up.
Yeah. Apparently, because we knew he was wounded, but now apparently they're going to acknowledge that he's dead.
Yeah. They know so much about what isn't so. That was Reagan. Yeah. Greatest line. So let's see. We got the testimonials from people who lived under socialism.
Oh.
Yeah, this is going to be good. So, testimonies from people who have actually lived under socialism. Let's see. Let's make it big. It has become a truism that people who are embracing socialism have never had to live under it and its ideological twin, communism. A lot of people say, you don't even know. I love you don't even know the difference between socialism, democratic socialism, and communism. You're an idiot. And I always say to them, you know what? If you got all the biggest communist dictators from the 20th century and you put them in a room together, they would all come out saying, yeah, socialism is socialism is socialism. It's all the same fucking thing, just different flavors, because it all is based on the same thing, collectivism. And from there, it's what you do with that money and the things that you're taking from them.
Oh, what did Mondambi say? It's time to get away from the coldness of rugged individualism and embrace the warmth of collectivism.
Yep. And collectivism, they say, oh, it's collective. Oh, we're all going to be together. It's a commune, right? No, sorry. Yeah, you're going to be collectively miserable is what you're going to be. All right, young people. Yeah. Young people seem so enamored by these train wrecks that they're willing to vote for the most radical candidates who promise them the moon and claim they can pay for it all by increasing taxes on millionaires and billionaires. Hoping to balance the one-sided propaganda about socialism coming from the media, the candidates running for office as socialists, Fox News has conducted interviews with people who once lived under these systems. I used to work with programmers who lived in the Soviet Union and told me what it was like. The testimonies are a powerful rebuke to those who believe socialism is the answer to every problem. You know why? Because they brag about the goodies that you can get. But see, they don't, like most young people in every country, including the United States, young people don't have any money, right? You leave your parents' house to go to college, then you come back, you live at home again, especially today until you're 30, and you don't have any money, so you're pissed. So you want all the freebies you can get from the government. But then when you get responsible and you get your job, right, you become a respectable person of society. Not that you weren't respectable before, but you now are paying taxes, you're earning money, you're doing things the right way, right? Well, now you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize that all those freebies are going to cost me now. And you don't want to go back to that because you're going to have so much more if you earn it. And I'm not talking about more shit that you can buy. I'm talking about, you have more dignity in yourself when you earn it as opposed to gimme, right? In a 1-week series, correspondent Alexandria Hoff interviewed people who fled the Soviet Union, China, Venezuela, and Cuba. Virginia attorney Marina Medvin, who left the Soviet Union, described herself as overwhelmed by the abundance of food in U.S. grocery stores. I could tell you a story about that. Hoff says, like many who have fled authoritarian socialist regimes, Medvin is alarmed by what she sees as the Democratic Party in America warming to socialist promises. Okay, I'm going to tell my story. So I was working for a company as a programmer. We had another programmer there. I won't give his name, but he was from Russia. He was from the Soviet Union, and he got out. Here's how he got out. He was a MiG pilot, and they were flying in or around Japan, okay? They were doing, like just regular training, stuff like that, the Soviets. And so he just like went out of the pack. They didn't even realize it at the time. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s, whenever the MiGs became popular. And so he flew to the island. And so he started calling out to the control towers of Japan and saying, I am Soviet pilot, whatever, because you have to speak English in those days because everybody spoke English. So I want to land. Give me permission. And they gave him permission. And so he lands and, they go out to the plane. They get whoever the local CIA guy is, right? The American CIA. And he goes and greets him and all that. And so he debriefs him and he says, I give you this plane as my gift. And they're like, okay. Well, it turns out they couldn't keep it, but they had all the cameras taking pictures and they studied it before they handed it back, right? So what happens? They fly him to the United States and they get him into New York. And they take him in, to the towers where CIA is. And they start talking to him again and they're debriefing him. And he says, I want to see, like, what is America like? Because, I heard so many things from people, other pilots and whatnot. And then our country tells us it's all bullshit, propaganda, right? And he said, all right. He goes, let's go out on the town. So his CIA handler takes him out and they go into a supermarket. And he looks around and he says, I saw all the fresh produce, the meats, everything. He goes, I looked at the guy and said, I've made a terrible mistake. Please take me to the Russian embassy. I want to go home. And he like storms out. And so the guy's chasing him. He goes, yo, what's going on? And he goes, it's just propaganda, just like they said. And he goes, what do you mean? And he goes, that is fake. He goes, nobody has stuff like that. And he goes, all right, you're a pilot. Because I said, well, you're here. What happened? He says, you're a pilot. And I said, yeah. And he goes, what if we take you in a plane and we put a map of the United States and you can pick 5 different cities anywhere and we'll take you there. And we can take you in and show you 3 or 4 of them in every city. And he goes, all right. He listened to him. So they did that. They landed. He told me where, I can't remember, but they landed in different states. And he goes, in every single one I went in there. He goes, it convinced me because he goes, your supermarkets are so big and full of just there's no empty spaces. It's all food. He goes, I thought it was impossible to build and put something like that up so quickly. He goes, and you have multiple ones and there's real people going in and shopping. He goes, I stayed. And I'm like, I'm glad you did because you're a good programmer. Now sit the fuck down and do your job. Anyway, so it said, Medvin Quote, they say that the purpose of democratic socialism is to bring equality, but what equality does it bring? None. That everyone is equally poor, equally miserable, that everyone is equally miserable, everyone is equally depressed. In Venezuela, reports Hoff, it took about 15 years for the nationalization of private industries to unravel into social and economic collapse. Yeah, it's Margaret Thatcher. You know, socialism is wonderful until you run out of other people's money. And that's when the economic and social collapse happens. Daniel D. Martino, quote, we couldn't find milk in the grocery store, and then we couldn't find chicken, and then we had to line up. The government asked for our ID to buy groceries and assigned us a day of the week to go to the store. This is what happens. People don't know this. These idiots in this country, you know, I want everything for free. Yeah, the story of Cuba is well known. Yali Nunez escaped the failed island nation. Nunez sees democratic socialists in the U.S. blindly embracing. Oh, let me see. Did Dr. J go away? Yeah, she did. Hold on. Okay, come back when you can. Text me. Yeah. She said her network went. We lost Dr. Jade. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, Carrie Ann's back. Hey, what's up? Yeah, so let's see. So what was I reading? Yeah. So there was, yeah. The Democratic Socialists, knows Hoff, claim their brand of socialism differs from totalitarian regimes because workers would govern institutions and not unelected bureaucrats. Socialism will work this time. I swear. They just did it wrong. No, they did it right. That's why everything went kablooey. The two systems are founded on lies. So why should people running on the DSA platform be trusted? They shouldn't. Evidence reveals the objectives of socialism and communism. As many as 100 million are estimated to have died at the hands of these totalitarian governments. And guys, that's their own people that they murdered. That's not even talking about wars that the commies started. Xi Van Fleet survived China's murderous cultural revolution. Xi has appeared on many U.S. TV programs warning Americans about the Maoist communist tactics and the danger America faces if we allow these economic and political systems further expand in our politics. Others have testified about economic hardships, loss of liberties, and other things Americans take for granted. In an 1814 letter to John Taylor, John Adams warned, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. Adams argued that unchecked human passions lead to self-destruction, which is why we are a representative republic instead of a democracy. The writer says, as I wrote in a previous book, America's expiration date, the average age of democracy, is 250 years. We are now at our expiration date. Inertia from the greatest generation will soon run out if we do not renew the principles upon which Adams and the other founders built the nation. Socialism will lead to our destruction, and once destroyed, it will be nearly impossible to bring back our constitutional republic. That's right. You can vote for a socialist regime one time. And that's it. One time. What's up, sis? Hey, chill. What's going on? Uh-oh. I just got lost too. Hang on. What happened? Where am I? There I am. I'm back. Wow, everything just froze. It's got to be the server. She lost hers. I was losing mine. What's up, chill? There it is. I wanted to get there. Democratic Socialists will save the world. Ha! You're exactly right. No, they won't. Let's see. Hi, Charlie. How you doing? Chill. Heyo. Yeah. Let's see. We got some others. Let's play this one. Oh, hold on. Let me put this back. Okay. This is good. It could be a little sad, but let's listen to it. Share screen. The real reason, let's see. The real reason Baby with Two Dads went viral. Here we go.
Maternal love is not a switch that somebody can flip and say, now I'm going to be a mom. It does not matter if you've got long hair or you're wearing an apron or you're more maternal. Men are going to act like men around children.
Hey, who do you want, Dada or Pop?
Mama.
No, Mama. Do you want Dada or Pop? No. Do you want Dada? You want Papa? No way, Jose. There is no mama. I'm so sorry. You have Dada. You have Papa. Two choices. No mama. No. No mama. Dada.
Yeah, this is a liberal thing.
Well, of course, that's the video that broke the internet. There was such outrage because he's like, hey, it was just a funny video. And the baby doesn't speak English.
Right,
the baby
well.
doesn't know what they're saying. And that's true. But why is it that mama, some form of mama, is the word for mother in Chinese, in Hindi, in South Korean, in most of the Western languages? Because it is the easiest sound for a baby to make.
So let's pause here. So what happened, Dr. Jade?
I think there was a nuclear explosion in my living room here. In my
Okay.
office here.
I froze too, because
Yeah.
I froze up after you left for like a minute. I was like, what the hell's
saw
going
you
on here?
freeze first. You saw me freeze first,
Yeah.
and then I just it was gone.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm back.
All right, cool. Good to see you. Let me finish this.
It's the same movement as what they're going to be doing when they're nursing. And so it makes sense that the first sounds that a baby make universally are attached to the first person that the
Right,
child is
mama.
connected to.
Right.
So what this child was doing was actually so much more profound than understanding what English is, right? They were voicing that there is a primary person that I don't have. I have this innate instinctual response, and the person that's supposed to be connected to it is gone. The other thing that I notice about this video is the dad is doing what dads do. They're being playful, right? They're much more tactile. What would a mom do in that situation? If a mom had said, who do you want, mama or dad? And he went, mama. What would a mom do? Oh, baby, baby, right? She would have pulled the baby really close. When I talk about how mothers are more intuitive, more emotionally connected, that's what I'm saying. That 5-month-old baby at that moment needed the person that would pull them in. They didn't need more tactile excitement, bouncing. They needed the connection. Dads can't turn that on. Maternal love is not a switch that somebody can flip and say, now I'm going to be a mom. You will act like a man to that child.
This is why they got trans people. Fact checkers. I'm just saying what I read in a medical article. They take all these drugs now so that they can come up with milk. And they're milking they're feeding a baby, and they're like, oh, this is just wonderful, isn't it, that they're able to do this now? Yeah, but what about all the chemicals you're feeding a baby? I don't understand that. Yeah, exactly. So does this mean all babies' first language is English? If mama is an English word, then yeah. No, I guess whatever they call mama in your country, I guess is your word. I know you're being funny. I love your humor. Let's see. What else is there? Let's do this. It's Fetterman. Michel Le Fetterman. Oh, do we got that? Yeah. So how do we do John Fetterman? There it is. Let's share this one instead. Okay. So John Fetterman calls himself Senator Shrek, very apropos, after progressive Michigan Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed threatens to put one ogre on a pike. Can you believe this shit? He's like, I'm going to kill people. Vote for me. You know, so Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman fired back after Democratic Michigan Senate candidate Dr. Never worked as a doctor. Abdul El Sayed never got his medical license, threatened to put one ogre on a pike, joking that he would rather be known as Senator Shrek than another progressive challenger. Nice. Why all these damn videos? Jeez. According to a Politico report, which means it's real, El Sayed made the remarks during a Zoom call with donors while discussing how he would strengthen the progressive movement if elected to the Senate. It's not what Americans want to hear, dum-dum. The comments quickly drew widespread attention and criticism. Quote, if I win, well, y'all came at me, so now I get to come at you. And, you know, primarying people like John Fetterman, I have no problem to do that. So that's why Fetterman jumped in. All right. FAFO. Ideally, you put one ogre on a pike and then everyone else gets the message. Do you hear this shit? This guy's a senatorial candidate. Ideally, you put one ogre on a pike and then everyone else gets the message and all of a sudden starts to sound a lot different. So he's talking about fear of violence to get politicians to do what you want or to shut up and let them get away with stuff. Fetterman responded with a pointed jab of his own, quote, "I picked being Senator Shrek over being the Pontiac Plattner any day," he told Politico, referring to former progressive Senate candidate Graham Plattner, who called off his campaign, right? Politico reported that El Said campaign spokesperson pointed to an earlier statement saying the candidate had been speaking metaphorically. He didn't mean it. He was only shucking and driving. He doesn't even know why he said it. About backing a primary challenge against Fetterman. The outlet noted that Fetterman and El Said have previously clashed over support for Israel. It's funny that a Muslim up in Michigan thinks that he could do something to get a Pennsylvania Democrat senator like Fetterman thrown out. It's not going to happen. The remarks also drew condemnation from Representative Hillary Scholten of Michigan, who supported El Said's primary opponent, Representative Haley Stevens. Quote, "Violent, vulgar threats have no place in a democratic electoral contest. With political violence on the rise, we need to be doing everything we can to lower the temperature, not raise it. It's the American people who suffer most when we degrade the political process this way." He's exactly right. Hang on. Exactly right. So where are we going now?
Yeah, the thing is with Fetterman, he's going to have to do something before, 2028? Because he's going to get primaried. He's going to get primaried out.
Well, he's already talking about he may leave the Democratic Party. He's considering it, but he's not going to be a Republican. He'll be an independent. And he would win.
I think he might.
Especially
if they put up those communists.
See, I have news. Our state is going red. There's no question about it. We are going red.
Pennsylvania is not communist.
Oh, no. Not even the Democrats here. Here's the thing. Ready? Back 10 years ago, the Democrats had an 11-point advantage on voter registrations. They always have. But then over the years, over that last 10 years, every year it was being whittled away, because the general party in D.C. has gone crazier and crazier and goofier, right? And so now it was our Secretary of State, who is a Republican, by the way. All right, we have Josh Shapiro, who is our governor. He's a progressive left-winger who was I believe, fact checkers, I believe he was partially responsible for the 2020 steal in Pennsylvania because he was the attorney general then. He didn't take any cases that were brought forward for fraud before the election. And he's the one that put out a tweet the day before the election. Remember, it's going to look like Donald Trump won at the end of the day. But when all the votes are counted, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Joe Biden will be the winner. He was setting the seed there for the libnuts to be able to go, well, all the votes were counted. Yeah, they kept counting votes until they realized that they had enough for Joe to beat him, even though they were all fraudulent, right? So what's going on is our Secretary of State just took off. What was it like? I think it was 35,000 people off the voter rolls because they were dead, they were illegals, they moved out of the state, but they were still voting. 35,000 people were still voting. Even because that's what the Democrats do. They find people that would never know they were going to vote, people that moved or people that died, and they confiscate their ID, well, their persona, and then they vote in their stead. And the easiest way to do that was to send mail-in ballots. That's why they wanted mail-in ballots, because you mail it in, you don't have to show ID, you don't have to do anything, right? It could be anybody that mailed that in, and that's what they did. And so, yeah. That knocked it down to about 25,000 registrations. Imagine we were 11 points down, the Republicans, 10 years ago. And now we're just 25,000 voters away from being the top dog and registrations. That's pretty bad for the Democrats. They're freaking out. They're definitely freaking out over that. Let's see what we got. Don't bring me down with trans not. Yeah, I know. I just have to talk about it because it's fake, phony, fraud. Good PR. Shrek is a positive. Let's see. Josh has a darker background than just that. Yeah, I know. He's stealing his neighbor's land right now.
I think that's pretty funny, really.
You think it's funny that he's doing that?
I think it's like just morbidly funny.
Really? Why? Tell me.
Well, it's just kind of sick and twisted. It's just, just
that is true.
It's kind of like a train wreck. You can't stop watching. It's like, holy crap.
Speaking of true, let's watch this.
This is so true and so funny. Check this out.
People think the world's gone to hell, that it's gotten so violent. But the world never got violent. There is no God. The world has been violent since the beginning. Cain killed Abel. Cain killed Abel. The third person on the planet killed the fourth person on the planet. We weren't even able to make it to 3 people before somebody was a murderer.
True.
At one time, a third of the people on the planet were murderers, right? A third of the people in the hood aren't murderers. A third of the people who own guns aren't murderers. A third of the people in jail aren't even murderers, right? San Quentin, Alcatraz, Folsom Prison are safer than the book of Genesis. You thought Compton and Baghdad were tough. Try downtown Eden when the sun goes down. There was murder and violence at person 3. One couple had 2 boys who had the world to themselves, and one of them was claiming this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us, right? Cain killed 25% of the world's population. That's more than Stalin, Hitler, Idi Amin, Pol Pot, King Herod, Genghis Khan, Manifest Destiny, typhoid, cancer, AIDS, cooties, all combined. Cain killed a third of the people he knew. He knew 3 people. He killed one of them. If you knew Cain, you had a 66 2/3% chance of survival. There's no such thing as the good old days. There was like one good day. It was half a day. Adam and Eve were naked, alone in an oasis. Lunchtime came. People got hungry. Apples were eaten. Boom, Detroit.
Detroit. Oh, geez. That was pretty good. Those kind of things. COVID helped. Just saying. Yeah. Let me see. I got another one. Marco Rubio. Here we go. This is good too. I like Marco. Here we go.
Rubio has a message for Europe.
For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. The alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future.
And we definitely don't want Spain going back to where Spain was in 711 AD, conquered by the Moors.
Yep.
It took 8 centuries to get them out of that predicament.
Yeah, they went up north, but they never forgot who they were.
1492, Isabel and Ferdinand, they brought Christianity back to Spain. Where are they when you need them?
Exactly. That is true.
You get some good videos tonight, Rich.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Let's see. Who do we got here? When you hear it, it just becomes even ridiculous. Yeah, I know. I know. Crazy, huh? Let's do. Should I actually read something for once? Let's see. Scott Bessent just dropped a truth bomb about the link between deportations and rental prices. Let's do that. I like Bessent. So here we go. There's an uncomfortable truth many affordability-minded Democrats do not want to admit. In places where immigration and customs enforcement is detaining and deporting illegal aliens, rents are falling. When fewer people compete for a limited supply of housing, prices come down. That is simply supply and demand. On Thursday, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pointed out that simple economic reality. But it is important to remember that mass deportations are not the entire answer, and believing that they can in some ways clouds the real issue at hand, the poor governance of politicians who have spent decades restricting housing supply. Deportations may lower demand, but they do not excuse or solve the problems created by politicians who made it nearly impossible to build enough housing in the first place. Here we go.
Communities, when you get, and we don't know what it was it 10, was it 15, was it 25 million illegals? There's no new housing stock, so you saw rents go through the roof, and now the people don't want to admit it, but there are academic studies that show where ICE goes, rents go down.
That's exactly right.
Rents go down.
So,
and you know what else it is because when those illegals came in, the Biden administration took care of them. Remember, they put them up in hotels and they were renting housing on it. When the government
credit cards, they gave them credit cards.
Right. When government goes to do rentals for people, they pay more than other people because they want it. So it'll go, you $400 a day, we'll give you $600. I'm just making the numbers up, okay? But that's what happens, and then all the other rental places around go, whoa, they're getting 600, then we're going to get 600. It's just the way it is. But they're right about supply and demand. That when you have more demand than supply. So anyway, let me see. I couldn't believe the other day I mentioned Spain to my adult son, and the first thing out of his mouth was apparently it's part of Morocco. He does have a CCP EV tax bribe. Okay. Part of Morocco, really? He thought that? Well, that's kind of crazy, don't you think?
Not if you looked at some of the films this week.
Right. Let's go. Steve Carlin. Okay. Here we go. Let's play
Out
this.
in the open now. They're not even trying to conceal it anymore. The owners of the country they got their election. They said, we're going to get this election. We put you people in that court for a reason.
All right,
Now's the
back
time
to earth
pass.
for you now.
Yeah, forget all that stupid. They're out in the open. They're openly driving the bus, and we're all in the back.
There is no national conspiracy to.
See, I like this black guy. I forget his name, but now he's a little heavier, but he's an incredibly smart guy on all of our history and everything. He's really good.
By election.
But of course, Carlin's going to drive him crazy.
And control America. Now
Talk about back to earth.
Conspiracy, but
you
because
don't need a formal conspiracy. Right. When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice. Right. You don't get the real important choice. There's no freedom of choice.
That was good.
George Carlin was always very good with words.
Yeah, I always liked him.
Do you want to talk about Chuck Schumer?
Chuck you, Schumer. The tiny tip in Morocco is actually part of Spanish rule. Yeah, Ceuta, or as they say, Ceuta, or Ceuta. We call it Ceuta, I think, is what we call it.
However, it's actually pronounced. Yeah, it's actually Spain. It's Spanish.
Yeah, it's part of Spain. Yeah,
but it's like butt up to Morocco.
Right. There you go. Chuck U. Schumer backs El Said, who defended terror attack on Jewish preschool. It just goes to show that Chuck Schumer he's a political whore. He wants his candidate to win, even though the guy comes with a terror background, like ties to it. Dems are going all in on their big tent messaging. The more extreme the DSA candidates get, from outright communists to Islamic terrorists, Dems have been taught to repeat that their party is a big tent, which includes guys with Nazi SS tattoos, communist fangirls who bring who brag about wiping their hands on the American flag. All these things are true. Islamists who justified an attack on a Jewish preschool. That last would be Abdul El-Said, the Islamist DSA candidate, who justified a Muslim terrorist attack on Temple Israel and about 100 or so little kids attending preschool inside. Abdul Al-Sayed, or Saeed, whatever, secured his victory by answering every question, including about his wealth and dirty backers ranting about the Jews. Now, Schumer and the Dems are welcoming Abdul El-Said and promising to back a guy who justified the attempted massacre of Jewish toddlers. Schumer spoke with El-Said Wednesday, calling it a great conversation and praising the former Michigan public health official for a very, very strong campaign that mobilized Wolverine state voters who hadn't been involved in politics. Yeah, all the young losers that don't want to work for a living. All right. Schumer pledged to do what it takes to win, brushing off his deep disagreements with El-Said over Israel. Other issues, healthcare and state of the economy and tariffs, matter more to Michiganders, Schumer added. What people don't understand is that a big tent is a strength, not a weakness. It's how you build a majority. Yeah, but the Marxist model then says that once the individual groups get their political power, they go, screw you, I don't need you anymore. We watch this with the Muslims going into school board meetings and complaining against young men going into girls' bathrooms. And they're like, whoa, you're supposed to be with us, the LGBTQ. They're like, we don't need you anymore. I mean, I saw them in there yelling, like, no, my daughter will not have that if I have to stand in front of that bathroom every day. I mean, it was crazy to see that, but they no longer needed them for political power. They obtained it. That's the Marxist model, why it defeats itself all the time. So the strong campaign consisted of answering, I already read that, but really, why quibble over minor issues like trying to murder Jewish toddlers when we need to be focusing on Abdul El-Said's plans to nationalize healthcare while pretending to be a doctor? Remember that? Pretending to be a doctor. He has a medical degree. Yeah, but he never got his license and he never practiced a day in his life. A big tent with people who want to kill Jews and destroy America, whether they have Nazi tattoos or wield the Quran, is a strength, not a weakness. Okay. Excuse me. It's how you build a big tent and then the people you let inside fly planes into the tent. Is that the end of it? Yeah, it is. Okay. Well, that was interesting.
This will be a little lighter. Cambridge professor accused of plagiarism.
Okay.
Have we read? I don't think you've read them.
Right. All right. I have another video, but I'll do that after that. Which one is it? I'm sorry.
Cambridge professor accused of plagiarism.
Oh yeah, that guy. That is funny, actually. Let me.
That might be funny.
Yeah, it is. It's like you can't make this shit up. Hold on. Where is he? He's got the picture. I see him. There he is. Yeah, this is good. They're all fake, phony frauds. Okay, here we go. The Cambridge professor accused of plagiarism, now under suspicion of using AI to write his resignation letter. It's 100% AI generated. Yeah. So it is, Jason. Is that all it is? Is that okay? If you missed the initial story, you might want some context. Over the last few weeks, Cambridge sociologist Jason Arday, once celebrated as the youngest black professor to ever work at the university, has been accused of plagiarizing his academic work. That's okay. The woman that was the president of Harvard plagiarized a bunch of stuff from a conservative black woman, but we'll get back to that. So not only that, but he has been charged with hiding the fact that his upcoming book was written by a ghostwriter. Holy cow. As well as lying about his past jobs at various schools. Holy mackerel. Look at this. Cambridge professor accused of plagiarizing his PhD work. Also manufactured up jobs in Ohio State, 2 other schools. Wow. Well, that's just racist to say that. When reporters reached out with questions, British police told them to back off because they were causing the professor emotional distress. No joke. That really happened. Look at this shit. Can you believe it? So as evidence of plagiarism mounted, major British media outlets like the BBC, what a joke, bravely called all of Arday's critics racist. Of course they did, because why not? And obviously, they continued to imply this in coverage of Arday's resignation letter. The BBC covers that Jason Arday resignation. There's no mention of a single lie he told, him reporting critics to the police, or his links to Labor or the BBC, and no example of his plagiarisms or poor writing is given. But one of his whistleblowers' views on race is given twice. Like Jussie Smollett or Juicy Smollett and many others, the professor has claimed that racists have targeted him. Of course, what else could it be? And threatened him with violence, despite any real evidence of anything, really. The media seems to take such claims at face value because they are obsessed with skin color and racism. Exactly. Don't feel too bad for the professor. Oh, that's it? Oh, no. I'm sure the guy will land a top government job in no time. That is so true. So let's see. I have this one. I like this. This guy's a pastor, but he's cool. Okay, he's like my pastor in a way. So here we go. So the pastor rips the mask off New York City Mayor Mamdani with a disturbing video. This guy's really good.
And what you're about to see is our friend Mamdani. He's up at a prayer gathering, an Islamic prayer gathering. Bro, so you're going to see him at the beginning of this clip, and then watch what is prayed with him present as he's in and seeking further office. Check this out.
As the first Muslim mayor in our city's history, and this year as the first Jummah that I have attended in that new position.
وأسأل الله أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديه وقتل الكافر.
And the killing of the infidels, another translation is non-believers, non-Muslims, by your sword.
Now, a lot of them say today, they just have to read that because it's in the Quran. No, they don't. And if you do, then we got to take you literally.
Bro, you have the mayor of the largest city, most influential city, arguably, in the United States, giving his blessing to a Muslim imam, publicly praying for the killing of the infidels, non-Muslims, by your sword. All I'm saying is if you were to ask the question, we have to be wise and understand that, hey, dude, spiritual warfare does not just happen at an individual level. It can happen at a societal level. And, dude, we have to understand, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, and spiritual forces of evil in high places. That is how you might destroy a largely Christian nation. And what?
Yep. Yeah, they're getting really bold now. So this is like phase 1.2. You know, phase 1 is when they come in, they're all happy, they're friendly, they just want to have a better life, right? And then phase 2, which Europe's in now, is when they invade, and then they start getting elected, and they start changing laws, and they create the mosque communities. And then if you're a native of the country, if you walk by it down the street, they got thugs that come out and go, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here." You're like, "Well, wait a minute, this is my country." No, it's not. You don't belong here. Get out of here. We'll beat the shit out of you. That's what I watched that on videos. Lou, formerly known as the Fortified Pope. Let's see. Think Sueda. Haas and Pfeffer Incorporated. I don't know. You try to say Sueda. Okay. Port. Okay. Sorry. I don't know. Hold on. Let me see. We got another one. No, we watched that one. Let's see. And this one we watched. Let's go to this one. The flock camera we watched. Channel comment. Okay. Let's go to this one. Oh, wow. Here's one. Joe Rogan. It's Joe Rogan. It's the same other guy, though. Joe Rogan, he's ripping the Dems here.
Joe Rogan calls out the Democrats. Check this out.
I'll ask you controversial things. Like, it's all I have to do is ask you, why is the border open? We could talk about that for 3 hours. Like, what are you trying to do?
Right.
Like, you could close that border. Trump closed that border in a day.
Amazing.
In a day.
He did.
As much, you could say, I hate what's going on with ICE, and I don't.
Biden said, I got to wait for Congress to write legislation. No, they already had the legislation. He had the power.
Like it either. I don't like
4
this
years.
thing of like taking people. And here's the thing. Well, they should have done it the right way. Yeah. Okay. But if you're poor and you live in a third world country, that's not an available option. Okay, what is an available option is this one administration over 4 years is encouraging people to go through. Not only are they encouraging you to go through, there's Red Cross stops along the way. They give you maps. They tell you how to do it. They're funding people getting in. They're paying for air flights. They're flying people in. They're moving people into swing states. They're getting them on Medicare. They're getting them on Social Security. We talked about this one lady who did an interview. We're saying she was being told to try to get people on permanent disability. So she was told to ask them, do you have back problems? And they're like, yes. Okay, great. Personal disability. Now she said, I was told to view them as a client now. And so you're trying essentially to bribe people to now, once you get them in, to move to a swing state. Then they count on the census. Once they count on the census, it adds congressional seats. So it's like you're rigging elections by bringing in immigrants, and then you're giving them money. And all these people that live in these poor communities, they're like, hey, where was all this money for us? Where was all this money for the people in Chicago? Where was all this money for the people in Baltimore? No, they're doing it because they're trying to manipulate the election. It didn't work. It didn't work. Like, I had an argument with someone about it. Like, yeah, it didn't work though. I go, yeah, but they tried to do it. It didn't work, but they did move people to swing states. They did leave the border open for 4 years. They did let in millions of people. They don't even know how many. They don't know how many people got through. That's crazy. Once they got them here, they did give them EBT cards. They did give them cell phones. They did. They moved him into the fucking hotel, that Roosevelt Hotel in New York City.
And they trashed it.
Luxury hotel filled with migrants. They paid for their food. They did do this. They encouraged people. They did have sanctuary cities where they weren't going to arrest them. They let them come in.
Still do Portland right now. It's
bananas.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do this one now.
How about this one? Former NBA player going to play for the WNBA. I want to see that.
Yeah, that was wait a minute.
I forget his name.
The screen icon. Your address allows. What? Let's see. Hot takes. Here we go. Let's do this. Hold on.
I like to encourage, a little lighter fare in between the heavier thought processes here.
Yeah, so let's see. They were all doing flexes outside our major cathedrals on the beaches, Taquiera, Sunset, Jihad has got double vodka now. All right. That was last Christmas, the cathedral flex. Cool. All right, so let's bring this up. Yeah, I can't see the writing's very small. My eyesight's gotten really bad in the last year. Hot takes. Hilarity ensues after former NBA player Enes Kanter declares for the NBA. Well, you saw the other one where the guy said, I'll pay $10 million if the champion WNBA can beat a high school team of boys. As we've reported, let me break it up a little bit. As we've reported, the WNBA seems hell-bent on self-destruction in the aftermath of Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham standing up for protecting women's sports from the invasion of transgender athletes. Okay. Quote, I've got a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans, and I'm like, I never once said that, Cunningham told ESPN in a recent interview. Most of them don't. They're just saying, I think it's wrong. I don't hate you, right? Quote, I think that I am here to extend love, but I also think that love is truth, being honest, and I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Fact checkers, I'm just reading a story here. All right. The result is that Cunningham and some of her fans have been subjected to hate and harassment at games, with several female WNBA coaches getting in on the action by yada-yadaing about how sports is supposedly all about inclusiveness. Not that kind of inclusiveness, when in reality, that's not even close to true. The drama and backlash got even more ridiculous when Golden State Valkyries forward Gabby Williams said this week that she'd welcome a transgender player on her team or on an opposing team. Okay, and there he is. Let's see.
I think it's trans rights now is our new battle. That's what I think that I was saying, that like the battles have changed. You know, like our intentions have been the same, but now the environment has changed. We see trans people's rights being, you know, stripped away from them. There's a lot of discourse around trans athletes and what they can compete in. I would welcome a trans athlete.
Why don't they just get a trans league? Am I wrong? Just get a trans league. Let them play.
I gotta, yeah, I mean, that's the answer to the question, but the question is for something like 0.5% of the population, we are compromising everybody else's participation.
Yeah.
Every other woman's participation.
Yeah, I don't understand it. And the Democrats have always, you know, tried to claim the mantle that we care more about women than those evil Republican bastards, even though it was the Republicans that gave them the right to vote. But
that approach is just so misogynistic. It's not even like
it really is. And then they turn around and they try to what's the word? They try to erase women by this trans stuff. You know, trying to say, you know, like we have a Supreme Court justice who during her hearing couldn't define what a woman is. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, she's got a lot.
Holy cow.
She's got a lot of other issues too.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into the chapstick challenge.
Oh God.
With a red lipstick. He put chapstick on.
Honey, oh my God. What have you done to me?
30 minutes later.
I got a bowl.
Said that your lips are really dry, so I just.
Oh. What are you doing?
Hungry, I want to leave.
I'm on the next thing.
We're gonna get hit for that. Can't play it. Sorry.
Well, you can play a few seconds of it, can't you?
No, you can't. You're gonna get hit anyway, and it depends on how much you play. Yeah, I didn't realize there's gonna be a song in it, but that's all right. We got the idea. So let's go. I want to get one of the lower ones. Oh yeah. This is the Comey shit. This is big stuff too, because our government under Obama weaponized the DOJ. And if they can do it against Trump, they could do it against little people like us, right? Read the document, secret Oxford comma probe. That's what they named it. Probe cast Trump as potential Russian asset after Comey fired. So he fires Comey. Now they come out with this bullshit. So the White House released a trove of documents showing that the FBI opened a 2017 investigation into whether President Donald Trump was acting on behalf of or under the influence of Russia when he fired FBI Director James Comey. The investigation, codenamed Oxford Comma, opened after Trump fired Comey in May 2017, according to the White House release. Investigators sought to determine whether Trump was directed by, controlled by, and or coordinated activities with the Russian Federation in a manner constituting a threat to the national security of the United States and or a violation of federal criminal statutes. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say they knew they were full of crap the entire time. This was just an extension of what they did during Operation Crossfire Hurricane, trying to label him as colluding with the Russians. That you still have assholes on Facebook, lefties, that keep saying it to this day. Now they're into more of a Trump's a pedo. What about the Epstein files, right? According to an FBI memo dated May 16, 2017, the memo said investigators would examine whether Trump or others had obstructed or conspired to obstruct an associated FBI investigation. Yet we know that Hillary and Bill Clinton actually did collude with Russia when she was Secretary of State to make $145 million as a phony campaign donation by the Ruskies to their money laundering system, the Clinton Foundation. All right, that was on that whole oh Christ, I'm terrible with names tonight. That was on the Uranium One deal. Okay, I've talked about it multiple times, but she's the one who actually colluded with Russia. And the Uranium One deal was because Vladimir Putin wanted to corner the market on North American uranium. It was a company owned by Canada, but they controlled 20% of our uranium. So when they bought when Putin's bank, his bank, bought it, he got the uranium, our uranium, right? It was freaking Hillary Clinton who did that, and yet they're claiming he's the one. Trump was the one that was colluding with the Ruskies, right? The opening memo cited information developed during Crossfire Hurricane, FBI's counterintelligence investigation into whether individuals associated with Trump's campaign were it's all bullshit too, with the government interfering in the 2016 election. So look at all those redactions. Let's see.
Yeah, the interesting thing, of course, is that when Obama left, he left behind a lot of his
evidence
cronies.
Yeah,
a lot of his cronies in the Department of Justice. And when Trump came in, he was given very bad advice about who to bring into his administration. And, so there were a lot of people in the FBI, for instance, that were very, very anti-Trump.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So, yeah, and that was thanks to Obama. And again, I just shake my head every time I think what would have happened if Hillary had won. I mean, it was...
We would never seen any of that.
We'd never see any of it.
All would have been swept under the rug.
Yeah, well, and especially Trump would have been swept under the rug. You'd have never... Month into her presidency, you'd never hear from him again.
Right, exactly. Here, let's do this one on Fauci.
You've got one up here with the picture of Elon, progressive docs.
Yeah, I'll get into that. It really is. Go ahead.
I was going to say that looks interesting. I don't know what the story is about.
Yeah, we'll do that next. Dr. Anthony Fauci subpoenaed by 3 GOP state AGs for allegedly profiting off COVID-19 guidance. Can you believe this? So let's do that. So
yeah, Florida was the first.
What's that?
Florida was first.
Yeah, they were first ones out there. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former White House COVID czar, who became the face of the U.S. response to the pandemic. You know what's funny? They say that Fauci did such a great job. He's a professional. He's been around for almost 50 years running and yet then at the same people, they'll turn around and go, Trump totally fucked up the response to COVID. People died because of Trump. Trump had nothing to do with the guidance. That was doctors that did that. It was Birx and Fauci and others. So on one hand, they praise Fauci, right? On the other hand, they say that Trump really botched that whole thing. They make no sense. They never did.
It's how many times have I asked you this philosophical question? If a tree falls in the woods and nobody is there to hear it, how is it Trump's fault?
Well, they can figure out a million ways, right? So let's see. Has been subpoenaed by 3 state attorneys general who are investigating whether he promulgated health guidance for personal profit. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer joined West Virginia Attorney General John McCuskey and Louisiana AG Liz Murrill in requesting Fauci hand over records generated between January 2020 and August of this year. Government officials have a certain level of immunity in their official capacities, but if Fauci personally profited off of that guidance he issued, that very well could have broken Florida law. Hello, what the hell happened here? Get rid of that. Okay. In some of the earliest entries, Fauci disputed the theory that SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, originated in Wuhan, China wet market, despite having publicly advocated a natural spillover from animals to humans and denounced proponents of the so-called lab leak theory. Now, why did he do that? Well, because he funded it to Wuhan. That's why. He didn't want to get caught. So he lied the whole damn time. Quote, the New York Post is getting crazy with all these pop-ups. Quote, what we know already is Fauci lied. We just don't know how much yet, Murrill claimed. But he lied about something as basic as keeping a diary.
Why would you do that?
Because he's a narcissistic psychopath.
I guess. It's like these people who video themselves for TikTok, committing some crime or other.
Right. Well, he thought he was never going to leave, and then when he had to leave, because he knew Trump was coming down on because he left right before Trump got in. Remember? So when he had to leave, He probably tried to delete his so-called diary, and he can't. Because their government computer, you can't do that.
Yeah, and
they don't give you access to do that.
Yeah, the reason he left was probably because government employees are not allowed to take the fifth. And so Trump gets in, and he wanted to get his ass out of there because it could have been forced to talk.
Right. And then the whole time, I mean, think about it, when he gave his little tirade, remember? He gave us a little tirade about it in his opening statement, which you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to touch on subjects that you're going to be questioned about and then be able to plead the fifth. All the rules were broken. Same thing with that Christine Blasey Ford, who lied about Kavanaugh, right? The rape thing and all that. She gives an opening statement, and you're like, wait a minute. And they even told her, you can't give an opening statement and plead the fifth on certain things, because she was questioned, and she did too. So the former National Institute of NIAID director also prided himself in the diary of his newfound notoriety amid the pandemic, and privately quizzed colleagues about awards that he could apply for. Can you believe this shit? Well, I know it was written out there too. Fact checkers, I read this on, I think, the New York Times, that he would have people that worked for him, and they would invent certain things that were like really awesome, and then he would fire them. He'd apply for the patent, and he'd get paid for it. He would get money for that patent, selling it. I heard he did that multiple times. Don't know if it's true. I'm just saying I read it. That included the nearly $1 million Dan David Prize affiliated with the Tel Aviv University for his leadership during the pandemic, according to other emails released by Rand Paul. Quote, we're really focused in on his self-dealing, Uthmeyer told Fox News, America's Newsroom on Wednesday, citing emails in which Fauci asked subordinates to apply for the awards on his behalf. Congratulations, you're rich, Fauci's personal assistant, Patricia Conrad, cheered. I want my 15%, added Greg Folks, Fauci's chief of staff. The then NIAID director acknowledged receipt of the funds 1 month later, so he got paid. Uthmeyer has claimed other awards, offers of named professorships and book deals, board positions, private foundation partnerships, and other professional and financial opportunities concurrent with his federal role, and public recommendations impacting Florida are part of the probe into Fauci. The Florida AG's subpoena also requests documents and communications on vaccine efficacy and boosters, natural immunity, potential adverse effects, including myocarditis risks, messaging strategies, and communications with vaccine manufacturers. Paul's Senate Homeland Security Committee voted along party lines, of course, Thursday, to hold Fauci in contempt for refusing to answer questions about the prize money, COVID lockdowns, U.S. funding for so-called gain-of-function research on viruses, or other possible origins of the pandemic. Doesn't he look like death warmed over? Look at that. The chairman is seeking to have the contempt resolution certified by Vice President J.D. Vance in his role as president of the Senate, foregoing a full chamber vote and delivering the request for prosecution directly to D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office. Former President Joe Biden had already pardoned Fauci for any potential federal crimes committed between January 2014 and January 2025. GOP senators claimed during the July 29 Homeland Security panel hearing that Fauci couldn't then invoke his Fifth Amendment rights and refused to answer questions. Paul also claimed that Fauci had violated his privilege by making an opening statement before refusing to answer. Hey, we don't need to read it anymore. We know what that means.
You know, I've said this before. I don't actually care if he goes to jail. He's 85 or 84. I don't really care that he goes to jail, but I want the truth to come out, and his diaries are going to be a real, what would be the word? A real assist to that. And it occurs to me that the other thing that I would like to see is he spends most or all of the money that he got on the lawyers.
Yeah.
I would like to see him,
suffer.
Broke. Yeah, I want to see him broke. I don't care if he goes to jail.
Right.
I mean, I guess that would be a plus.
Gets in the way. A big hello and warm welcome to all. What's up? What's up, brother? Tony Fauci is Was that shit? Is that a shit thing?
No, I don't know. Something. It's something bad.
Oh, my sister's going. Okay. What? See you, sis. Friend up from work. Bye, girl. All right. Bye, girl. Ditto. Okay, so
Progressive docs. I want to hear about Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah. You want to see that one? Okay. The Elon file. So where is it? There it is. The documentaries is what they're talking about. So let's do that. Okay. Progressive docs dominate at major film festival. So let's go. Am I a Racist became the most popular documentary in a decade 2 years ago. How? It wasn't due to legacy media coverage or promotion, nor did it rely on fawning film critic reviews. The documentary simply struck a nerve using humor and candid camera style provocations to shred DEI insanity. Right. And it worked. Let's watch the trailer. This is good. Watch this.
Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man is the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by the...
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
Is America inherently racist? What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherently.
Yeah.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth
funny
saving.
he got in there.
This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gonna say I'm racist. Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys in your anti-racist journeys? So I'll look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will?
Wow.
What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gonna say I'm racist.
What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness? Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that? And what you're doing is you're stretching.
Guys, Walsh is the guy that did the movie What is a Woman?
Out of your whiteness. Listen more for you in this field. White.
Folks.
White.
Trash. White supremacy. White woman. White boy.
White.
Entitlement.
White.
Centering. White. Silence.
Is there a black person around here?
What happened? Black person.
How could these white women sit at that table and say, yeah, white people are just the worst piece of shit on the planet? Does she think because she says that she's somehow excluded from that? She gets like a special privilege that she's not white at that moment. It's not.
Well, you get a card.
Her.
You get a card.
Yeah, yeah. And
and you get a card, right? And it's got so many points on it, depending on your level of victimization.
Right.
You get, and I think it's like, punch out things. So depending on what you do at what times, you get more punches in your card.
Right.
So right here, does he not exist?
They gonna say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. And what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Hi, Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
Now streaming only on Daily Wire Plus. Rated PG-13.
That's awesome. Let's see. In a sane world, that would have coaxed some documentary filmmakers to expound on what Am I Racist director Justin Folk achieved, except that would mean copying his impish tics and right-leaning philosophy. So no one cloned racist in the grand Hollywood copycat tradition. The genre remains an aggressively liberal one, and this year's offerings prove it. Ha! So let's see. The Toronto International Film Festival was one of this year's biggest movie events, a precursor to Oscar season and hotbed of the awards bait cinema. Call it the starter pistol for the fall's best and brightest films. This year, TIFF will honor two major documentary films that have something distinctly in common. They hail from the left. How left? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Read the tea leaves, though, and you might think it's MS Now convention. That's funny. We don't have to read the rest of it. The lib nuts are taking over.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't think they're really winning the media and social war anymore.
Right. They're not.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Let me bring this one up. Hang on. Come on. Yeah, this one's here. Okay, here we go.
So, Democrat Senator out of New Hampshire, Jeanne Shaheen, decided it would be a great idea to go live on air and lie about the fact that Democrats want to give taxpayer-funded health care to illegals. And she got exposed live on air. And it's absolutely hilarious. Check it out.
Wow, listen to this.
Illegal immigrants should not be getting access to the Affordable Care Act marketplace.
100%, Senator. But what I'm saying is that members of your party are making
Well,
this
I
an
can't
issue.
speak for members of my party. I don't think you're right. I think you're making it an issue. Vice President Vance is making it an issue, but I haven't heard anybody in my party saying that illegal immigrants should get access to the health insurance marketplace.
I'm so glad you said that. Actually, I have some tape, and let's play the clip.
This is a show of hands question. And raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
They all rose their hand.
Everyone.
So,
exactly. Everyone on the. I remember that moment.
I remember it too.
Yeah, that was crazy, was it not? Let me get up to. Let me go all the way down to the bottom. See what we got. We got Total Phony from Jessica Hahn.
Lies wrapped in lies, covered with lies, ice cream.
Yeah. On my page?
What?
Lies?
No, I'm saying them.
Oh, okay.
Lies wrapped in lies, covered in ice cream lies.
Yeah, I gotta do at least one Kurt Schlichter each week. So we got one. Let's bring that up. No wonder the birth rate is dropping, he writes. So here's another addition to the glad to be married file. The on X, which I often scroll through with the same kind of morbid fascination an auto racing aficionado feels waiting for a crash, there arose a controversy involving a young woman in New York who was texting back and forth with a potential first date and asked him to send a car to pick her up. I assume she meant an Uber. In any case, he declined but offered to come to a restaurant near where she lived, and thus began the debate. Was she right to demand the stranger provide transportation for her, or was he somehow a jerk for unequivocally refusing to do so? The only conclusion one could draw from this vigorous debate was that being single right now must super suck. No, this is about more than just shaking my boomer adjacent head at those crazy kids and their kooky customs. What it implicates is something going on all over the world that might mean the end of civilization as we know it. The birth rate is dropping lower than Graham Plattner's approval rating at an APAC convention. That's pretty funny. People just aren't having babies. Now, conservatives are having more babies than liberals, which is good and predictable since we like normal sex and a lot of leftists are weirdos, but we're not exactly being fruitful and multiplying either. Dating and mating is a young people's issue, and their dating habits are bizarre, and their mating part is suffering. Of course, back in my day, I would have taken my car to her house and picked her up. Most people in New York City don't have a car, so it's understandable that he didn't do that. But is there some sort of obligation on his part to fund her transportation? The dinner he was going to take her to was one of those top shelf Michelin restaurants. Homeboy was already planning on shelling out some serious ducats. Was he required to fund her trip as well? He did say he would consider getting her a car to take her home. I find the whole thing kind of odd. First, what the heck? She's making demands on her date before they even met. I thought all young women are self-sustaining girl bosses with exciting careers who need a man like a fish needs a bicycle. But apparently she needed a man to provide her a Prius driven by some immigrant from Papua New Guinea. named Mugatu. Look, I default to the guy acting like a guy. You pick up the girl for the date. You pay for her dinner. You see her home. If she doesn't invite you in, you say goodbye, and that's that. It's an expensive lesson. But I'm informed by the players on X that I am hopelessly old-fashioned. You don't pick chicks up at their house because she doesn't want to tell her date where she lives. Right, exactly. That's because they usually found each other online. And I get that. If I were a lady, I wouldn't want to give my address to some weirdo whose entire connection with me was because I swiped right or left or whichever direction on my romance app. I'm also told that you don't take women to dinner for a first date anymore. Apparently, some young gold diggers make it a thing to go out several nights a week to nice dinners with guys they're not otherwise interested in. I don't have any idea how young men can afford to do that. I could do a good dinner date for under $50 back in my day. You're talking close to $200 now if you want to have a couple of drinks. And you definitely want to have a couple drinks if you're on a date. Apparently, there's no problem with you taking her home if she wants you to see her home. But before you go inside, you better get a videotaped and notarized statement of consent. That's funny. So the guys have several problems. And there's some tension that I can't blame young men for being confused about. Guys who were just starting out probably don't have $200 to drop on dates on a regular basis. This is why there are arguments that the first date should be for a coffee or maybe a drink. Taking a woman to dinner on her first date is a sign of weakness to these studs, none of whom seem to have a girlfriend. I bet that's just a coincidence. Now, many of society's problems are a direct result of feminism, and a lot of this dating disaster is too. You have some women who want to exploit men, and you have some women who want all the benefits of chivalry with none of the obligations. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If a guy is taking you out and paying for everything, fine. She has to be cool to him. She can't be a jerk. And there seem to be a lot of stories of women who get taken out on dates and spend their entire time on their phone texting their friends. I don't know if they were raised by wolves or what, but for every hapless dude out there, there's some conniving chick. Oh, and you're supposed to be over 6 feet tall, make $100,000 a year, according to the people on social media, before you are considered a man of potential value. But you're definitely not supposed to consider a girl's weight or appearance. Again, feminism or something. Rush Limbaugh's one of his undeniable truths of life was feminism was created so that less attractive females could have easier access to the mainstream of American life. Think about that definition. So I'm not sure about the answer to the great car service question, and I'm glad I don't have to face it. I've been out of the game for a quarter century, and I couldn't be happier. But we do have to start figuring out how to help young people connect. It's not just a matter of their happiness, though it is. If you look at the statistics, half the young women are insane, and half the young men are miserable. That's not good for society. That's not good for the future. We should want the best for the next generations, but we also have a practical consideration. Somebody's going to have to change our bedpans, and it's in the not too distant future. That's pretty funny. Where did I go? Okay. Young people have challenges we don't understand, although we had challenges that our parents didn't understand. Yeah, every generation has obstacles, but that doesn't mean they're not obstacles. That doesn't mean there's not a practical result of those obstacles. Right now, the practical result is a dearth of births. We've got to figure out how to make life affordable for young people. We've got to figure out how we can change society so that people can connect. We've got to get rid of the militant feminism that makes women unattractive and revive the masculine energy that makes men want to find a mate. It's been like 30 to 40 years since they've been like dumping on men. It's going to be hard to turn that around. We're going to have to do that as a society. We need to reject popular culture that depicts men as losers, just as we need to reject popular culture that depicts women as pains in the rear. And we need policies that promote family formation and growth. We don't need people to wait for their 40 to get hitched. They should be doing it in their 20s. And yes, I know I'm a hypocrite. That past wasn't perfect. We certainly weren't perfect. but don't tell the present generation. Instead, try to help them with a little good advice. After all, despite everything, including terrible clothes, bad hair, and grunge music, we did okay. That's pretty funny.
Oh, that's good. I like that last sentence.
Yeah, we did okay. Besides, yeah, exactly. So let's see.
We got like one more. Rich.
Yeah, well, I got a video. Hold on. This is Ted Cruz, who I like. Joe Rogan was shocked. I say he got.
Before 2023, how many times has a president of the United States been indicted?
None.
Before 2023, how many times has a former president of the United States been indicted?
None.
In the last 2 years, how many times has President Donald J. Trump been indicted?
4 times, I believe.
Now, many presidents of both parties have engaged in controversial actions, and yet none of them have been indicted. Let me ask you, General Mukasey, if a private citizen were to erect an internment camp and to forcibly kidnap American citizens, to single them out because of race, and to imprison them based on their race, would that private citizen be subject to criminal prosecution? When President Franklin Delano Roosevelt did the exact same thing and erected Japanese internment camps, was FDR prosecuted?
It was not.
Let me ask you, similarly, if a private citizen were, say, to detonate a nuclear weapon over a city and kill over 140,000 people, and then if that private citizen a few days later detonated another nuclear bomb over another city and killed 75,000 people, would that private citizen be criminally prosecuted?
He would.
Was President Harry Truman prosecuted for detonating nuclear weapons over Hiroshima and Nagasaki? All right, how about this? If a private citizen launched a weaponized drone and killed a United States citizen, would that private citizen be criminally prosecuted?
Was Obama.
He would.
Was President Barack Obama criminally prosecuted when he killed United States citizens using drones without notice and without due process?
Right. The guy and his son were never charged with a crime on anything, and yet he drone killed them intentionally.
He was not.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I got one more.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's interesting, but of course, you know, especially with the Truman one, you know, the president of the United States has a very great responsibility, and it kind of goes beyond, it supersedes individual responsibility, because in fact, by doing that, he ended the war and saved hundreds of thousands of American and Japanese lives.
Right. They had to do it, as a matter of fact. All right, hold on. I got this one's good. This will be the closer. What is the definition of woman? This is a spelling bee, right? This is the Babylon bee, but it's great.
Our word is woman.
Well, woman. Can I have the country of origin, please?
I don't. Probably England or Germany or something. Woman.
Can I have the definition, please?
Why don't you ask Judge 1 that question?
Can I have the definition of woman, please?
No.
Why not? I'm allowed to ask for definitions, right?
The thing is, a woman is a woman is
What she's trying to say is that each person gets to define for themselves what a woman is.
So can you define it?
No.
Why? I just want to know the definition of woman.
And that makes you a hateful little bigot, Lincoln.
I don't hate anybody.
How about we just use it in a sentence? Abortion is a woman's right.
If a woman makes an accusation, we should believe all women. Your word is.
Isn't that crazy?
That's kind of funny.
It is. Let me see. Let me shut that down. We have 3 minutes. Let's go. Hang on. Got.
I don't know.
Here's on. This is on Fauci.
Okay.
This is on Fauci, and I want that guy. Here we go.
I want him to go down.
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't necessarily need to see him.
The question
in jail.
is, was it planned? Watch this.
We're going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated.
Yes.
Yeah, big corporations like Amazon and Facebook.
He had to listen to
and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated.
Yep.
Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and
Thank
that's
you.
not what I was referring to.
Well, that's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live
This wasn't his recent testimony.
without getting the vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights.
Yep.
Shame on you.
You were going to have schools, universities.
Isn't that crazy?
These people were evil, man.
They were fucking evil, were they not?
Just evil. And, you know, the more you look into his handling of the AIDS stuff back in, what was it, early 90s, I mean, that was pretty brutal too. Like he ended up deliberately infecting a bunch of women.
Oh, yeah.
In Africa.
He did a lot of bad things.
In Africa, just to see
Right.
how it was going to go. Just to see if
Krusenstein, what?
Yeah, just to see if his treatments might work. Yeah, and you know, hardly anybody ever talks about what might be the worst thing he did was stop toddlers from seeing anybody's face for 2 years.
Right. And don't forget the puppies.
Don't forget the puppies. Yeah, he had them
they were
being
beagles, and he tortured them.
Yeah, he had them being stung or bitten by
He had them
insects.
freaking tortured puppies.
Yeah.
Who does that to puppies?
They were being stung or bitten by insects, as I recall.
Here's one. Last one, finally. This is Marco Rubio again, and he's destroying the left. Let's play this. He obliterated the left with facts. Here we go.
That some people call this controversial tells you everything you need to know.
In one 18-month period between 1971 and 1972, the FBI counted some 2,500 bodies on American soil, a rate of nearly 5 a day. The overwhelming share of that violence came from left-wing extremists. Between 1970 and 1980, 93% of terrorist attacks in the West came from the far extremist left. These are numbers that would shock most Americans today because we've been taught to believe that this kind of political violence, it simply doesn't exist or it's being exaggerated, but it does exist. And we're actually underestimating it. And our nations bear the scars to prove it.
Isn't that crazy?
I like that guy.
I know, me too. Well, let me tell you something. Here's what's going on too. Remember when everybody on the left started saying that January 6th was the worst attack on the Capitol since the War of 1812.
Yep.
Well, they skipped the multiple times that there were terrorists inside the House chamber who started shooting at people. One congressman was hit. They forget to tell you there were other terrorists who went. We say terrorists; they're not Muslims. They're like some of them were Puerto Ricans or from that FALN group, right? They didn't want America to take over Puerto Rico. And all that. They couldn't get into the Senate building because the doors are locked, so they set a bomb off at the door. They did that twice. Right? Worst attack since the War of 1812. That shit happened in the 1950s and 60s. So January 6th, were the only person who died. There were two people, Roseanne Boylan and Ashley Babbitt. And yet these guys went and pulled guns. And it was because back in those days in the 50s, people were trusted because they were honest people back then, for the most part. But now you got to go through metal detectors. No way you're going to get there. But they brought bombs in and they brought guns in, and these jackasses, they just say, "Hey, look who it is. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Robin from Courage is the Cure?" You guys, check out Robin's link. It's Courage is the Cure. She has two links in the description. There's one for YouTube and one for Rumble, and I'm sure she's on every other social media out there. In case you don't know, Robin is really good on privacy issues down in Australia, and she also likes to talk about when her government does a little extracurricular activity when they go over the line. kind of like every government these days, but in Australia specifically, because it's not good down there. She has a very interesting show. It's just that she's in Australia, and it's when I get up in the morning. So sometimes I watch, I actually do watch, and then I got to go. I got to go to work, and I'm like, man. So I put it on in the car, and I listen there, and she never knows unless I say hi. So I do. So guys, do me a favor. If you're watching this and you've never seen her before and you're into that kind of topic, go to her link in the description and please sub for her and tell her Rich from RPW Media said hi. Do that. Thanks for being here, Rob. And we're about to shut down. That's a shame. So, I got one more to do. I'm sorry. One more. I want to.
How many last ones is this?
I want to close with this one. Don't tell me that your ass meter is going off. So hold on. This is the last one. This is good. We're going to close with
Trump called me yesterday. Glenn, I just wanted to say hello because I said I know it's been a hard day for you because of Lindsey Graham. He said, but it's a tough job. And I said, is it tougher to be president or to run for president? That's a great question. Let me think. And he said, you know what? The first time it was harder to be president. He said, because I had no experience at it and I didn't know where the hidden trapdoors were and I was surrounded by bad people. And so I was hunted. And he said, so it was harder that time. He said, this time I would say it's easier to be president. But this time I'm not hunted. I'm the hunter. Yeah. And there's some big game going to be brought down soon. I think you're going to be very excited. I was like, okay, Mr. President. All right.
I know I would be. Isn't that great? That means there's a lot of stuff coming, and they've been building this for 2 years now, right?
Well, I'm cutting them as much slack as I can, but listen, I want to see indictments. Where's the goddamn orange jumpsuits?
Me too.
Not one of them is in one.
I know.
Should be a
I know. Well, there are people being arrested, but they're the low levels, like people up in Minnesota that are being arrested for the fraud and all that, right?
Yeah.
There are arrests going on.
There's
But
people
we want the
going
big
away.
fish. Unfortunately, in our society, the big fish that are into politics, our founders didn't create our system that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean,
we need to somehow come after some of these big fish. Fauci may be the first one.
yeah, like political, like in our system, the political remedy is not. Our founders did not want the political remedy to be to go after them and put them in prison, because then you'd have a banana republic. Everybody that gets in, they're going to go after the next guy, right? What they wanted was the ultimate FU to a bad politician is the election.
Yeah,
you throw the bum out, and we had that. Joe Biden, I still believe he stole 2020. America saw how horrific things were going for the Democratic Party, because we know it wasn't Joe, right? Joe has warm diarrhea brains the entire time he was president. It was all the people who were around him that Obama put in there. Valerie Jarrett, right? I spoke their names earlier, Susan Rice, and several others, in that White House office, and they're the ones that were behind a lot of this crap, right? And so the remedy was throw them out. And this is why you're right when you said earlier, you said that it was a good thing that they stole 2020, because Trump, and I believe it too, because Trump, we had to go through that hell, but look how many people woke up. I mean, when Trump won this time around, what was the first thing he said? He went up to the mic and he went, wow, look what happened, because they destroyed Kamala. Right? They would have destroyed Joe too. But the fact of the matter is that we went through that, and America saw, wow, look how big. He tried to force us to take experimental medicine or lose our jobs. Look at this shit. They censored us. Americans have always been very happy with having free speech, right? I mean, it's part of our Constitution. And think about that. Reagan once said that freedom is only a generation away from losing it forever. All right. If we had a generation of that Biden administration, no way. We'd be the commie states of America in 20 years.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's in 2016, we realized that we're not alone, because in 2016, everybody thought that they were the only one.
Right.
And then Trump got elected, and we realized, holy crap, we're not alone. And then the Democrats worked very hard to set up 2020.
Yeah. They did it with mail-in ballots.
And that backfired on them, because I think
we
realized we weren't alone, and then we all of a sudden realized collectively what they were trying to do.
Let me tell you something. I spoke earlier about some Soviet friends of mine that came over, right, that I worked with, and they had a mentality. Like, you ever notice, like when a Russian speaks to you, he's like very because they're miserable. They went through 85 years of it, so they had a full cycle of generations, right? And so the fact of the matter is, we would have gone through that as well. Anybody would have, right? And the thing is, thank God we got out of that. And thank God it was as bad as it was. And I'm going to give credit where I think credit is due, right? Snoop Dogg. It was Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg did that video of shooting Trump in the head, right? But then this time around, they asked Snoop, so what do you think about Trump running now? And he smiled and he said, I got nothing but love for Donald Trump.
That's right. He said
and the
that.
reason he said it, he explained later on, he said, because Trump pardoned my friend and he didn't have to, and he did. And he goes, and I considered everything he was doing for the country. And he said, and then I thought, you know what? The brothers and sisters were doing really well under Trump 45. He goes, then look what happened under Biden. It was a tyrannical regime. They were. The only thing that held them back was we had a Supreme Court that wouldn't allow them to get away with murder. But then you had Joe Biden giving a double barrel middle finger when he said, you know, I was told, the Supreme Court told me that I don't have authorization to forgive student loans, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then they say that Trump's the one who's a fascist and all that, and that he wants to subvert the Constitution. This guy gave a speech saying, screw you, Supreme Court. I'm not going to follow it. The Supreme Court told him the Constitution did not give it to him. Nancy Pelosi said that. Of course, she shut up later on, but she's on video. She forgot there's an internet. Right? She even said only Congress has the right. She said a president can delay it, but he can't forgive. Only Congress has the purse string.
Yep.
So we went through a whole commie-like thing here, and oh my God. I mean, the shit, think about it. There was a lot of shit that we listened to. We went, yeah, okay, we remember that. You know, remember the times we were like, yeah, you're full of crap, but we got to accept it because we don't want the cops knocking on our door. Holy crap.
But
all right.
That's what I was saying earlier. In 2016, we realized we weren't alone. In 2020, we realized that what they were capable of.
Right.
And in 2024, we put those two things together and made it too big to rig.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. And you know what else? It was too big to rig, but the big thing was that the red states did election integrity laws.
Yeah.
They couldn't get away with it. Like every state, red or blue, has that one county, like Fulton County in Atlanta, Philadelphia County in Pennsylvania, right? Detroit. Alabama is Fulton, right? You have Detroit,
Maricopa County,
Maricopa out in Arizona. You have all these counties. It's one Democrat county, and they could steal an entire election.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care if you're going to argue. I'm playing one more. This is funny.
Good
My
Lord.
wife said, "Don't tell any toilet jokes on the."
You still remember the
Don't
original?
tell any toilet jokes on the Johnny Carson show. And the guy came out. One of the cops came over. And he just told me a toilet joke.
Don't do it.
I'm going to try and tell it. See if I clean it up a little.
All right.
3 old guys sitting around convalescent home. One guy says, "If I could just do number one."
I used to tell this joke. This is great.
I mean, if I could do like a strong number one, like, you know, not in dribs and drabs. The second guy says, if I could do a good number two, I mean, a solid one, you know, if the squeeze and it comes out, you know, it's terrible. Third guy says, I do wonderful number one, like torrential rains in Pango Pango, like the Mississippi River. He says, that's at 7:30 every morning. And 7:35 in the morning, I have a wonderful number two. He says, like Mount St. Helens. He says, this is erupting. That's That's at 7:35 in the morning. So the other guy says, he says, so what are you complaining about? He says, well, I don't get out of bed till 9.
Exactly.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. Hey guys, do me a favor. If you haven't hit that like button, do it now, please. It helps us. And you know what? We're growing as far as our people, not during the stream, but after the stream. We're trying to get more people in here, which is why we ask you guys to bring a friend. But our numbers are growing afterwards. A lot of people are watching this. Welcome to all you guys. So I think, it's pretty cool. So do me a favor, hit the like button. It seems to be working. That and I hope, because I changed the thumbnails. It used to be the boring RPW media. Now I actually got real thumbnails now. So it's drawing people in, which is nice because we want to grow this thing. We want to get more people in here. So do me a favor, hit that like button. We're out of here. Thank you very much. Watch the videos during the week. Go to Robin and go to her site. It's in the description. Check it out. 42's is also in the description. Please check him out. He's the Ulster Poet Patriot. He's really good. I'm going to be there tomorrow night, probably watching. We'll see you. Have a great weekend. Love you all. Good night.